What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files podcast, where usually we talk about our favorite fantasy series and topics. We are your co-hosts today, Spencer and Gabe, and we're back in the Creators Corner with Nick Henderson, host of the 4Player podcast, and we'll be chatting about content creation and all sorts of other things, because here in the Creators Corner, as most of you know, we tend to go wildly off topic. You really never know what you're going to get with one of these episodes. Liking and subscribing, of course, helps us out a lot, so please do that. It's just a button click for you, and it really helps us get seen by the algorithm and whatnot. And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter and Discord, which are linked in the description. And I don't know about you, Nick, but whenever my multi-billion-dollar gaming company acquires another multi-billion-dollar gaming company, I like to celebrate by supporting my friends on Patreon, which is exactly what you can do by following that first link in the description. We've just posted some exclusive content over there, and that was a ton of fun to make, and we'll have more on the way soon. Hopefully, we're going to get everybody together and record another one of those. So hop over there and enjoy that content, and thank you to all of our patrons that support us. With that out of the way, let's introduce our guest, Nick Henderson. Dude, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a bit. Last time we were on, we were talking about The Last of Us.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
a lot.
So I first started like kind of not like a whole lot, but talking with you a little bit when Dexter came out, Dexter New Blood.
Yes.
And I like, as you well know, we've talked about it at length, but I like Dexter is probably my favorite show ever. Like, it's probably at least one of my top two.
As is mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And around that time when New Blood was coming out, your tweets were just like, I hadn't been following you or anything. You were just popping up on my timeline all the time talking about Dexter. And so then I started following you. I really liked your takes on Dexter and loved kind of keeping up with you going through New Blood at the same time that I was. So that was a lot of fun. And then when The Last of Us show dropped, I was already following you at that point, and your posts were popping up with Last of Us stuff. And I was like, I gotta talk to this guy. I think that he'd be great on the podcast. So you came on to our second channel, Fantasy Files Reacts, where, we talk about movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff. And you and I had a great time talking about The Last of Us. I came away from those conversations being like, I really like this dude. Like, I had a great time talking with you about that.
As did I. No, I love talking about The Last of Us. In fact, after Dexter, The Last of Us is probably up there. Is one of my favorite things
Yeah,
in general.
for sure.
And the guys on my show, while also fans of The Last of Us, aren't necessarily keen on letting me talk their ear off about it. So that was a great opportunity. So thanks for that, letting me have that chance as well. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and just that whole time I enjoyed talking to you so much. I thought you were really insightful, both about The Last of Us, like when we were talking about it on the podcast, but also the stuff that you brought up about Dexter. I just really liked your insight into that. And then I started listening to your podcast, 4Player podcast, and man, I am enjoying this show so much. I listen to it pretty much every week. There's probably been a couple weeks where I've skipped an episode, but for the most part, I've been listening to them for the past whenever I started being a patron, like 3 months ago or whatever.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And it's well worth it. I think you guys are so much fun. You guys are so chaotic in the best way. And
I suppose that's a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
We're all very different personalities, I think. So
and it's so much fun listening to you trying to like basically herd cats. Like
yes,
everybody goes like wildly off topic, and eventually it gets to a breaking point where you're like, guys, okay, and you bring everybody back in.
Sometimes it leads to heated arguments, which our audience claims to really enjoy.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah,
Sometimes it gets the
totally.
better of me.
Yeah.
But you know, that's what apparently people dig. So
Dude, I love it so much, and it's so funny when it does get heated because as just a listener, you can tell that all of you guys are really good friends. You all obviously love each other, but you get into those contentious discussions, and it's so much fun just to hear everybody like
I
yelling at each other and giving each other shit.
I had to accuse Brad of mansplaining Final Fantasy to me last week on the show, or this past episode. I didn't
Oh.
think I was gonna have to do that, but
That's awesome.
you know, that
That's
was
awesome.
just what happens sometimes, I
Yep,
guess. So
true that.
Oh, it's so fantastic. And I guess the last thing I'll say about your podcast is one thing I really appreciate is the lack of clickbait titles. Like
yeah.
all of the titles for your podcast episodes are literally just like what we're discussing, comma, what we're discussing, comma, and just like the subject matter. And I
We give
appreciate
the
that.
episodes names, like they technically have titles, but they're just like in jokes that come up on the show. So like they make zero sense unless you actually like listen to the episode. And a lot of that probably stems from, because we've been doing that for a long time, and I think a lot of that probably stems from when we started doing this. None of us had any fucking clue what we were doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it just like we didn't really form any like good habits, I suppose, about like naming things that
Yeah.
like we weren't playing to the algorithm.
Right.
I suppose, which, you know, is a double-edged sword. Like it's probably a good and a bad thing for
Yeah.
us. But you know, people like, apparently like there was one time I tried changing kind of like the nomenclature of the show title, and
Yeah.
I was like, no one's gonna care at all or notice.
Right.
And the first thing I saw is just like, it's like, why'd you change the way you name your shows? And I was like, okay, never again.
Never again.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Yep.
So are the titles still like in jokes and stuff? Because I feel like every time I see it pop up on Patreon, it's like, you know, this week we talk about Final Fantasy, Zelda, and
It is both. It is both, because
Okay.
I usually give like, it's like episode, you know, and it's
right.
like last week it was episode 762. The title of the show was The Bear Consent Show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then
was
after
great.
that we put in parentheses, on the show we talked about this,
Yes.
and this.
Okay. Right.
So it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
And for a long time I wasn't even putting the parentheses with like the topics or whatever, and I was like, you know, maybe it'd be good, maybe I should be making some effort to like, you know, hit some keywords there that actually make sense. So I was like dropping like the biggest games that I think would be like the most interesting to people
Right.
that came up in the show. So I'll put those in there usually as well. So
Yeah, and that, man, I can't tell you how much that helps me as a listener, because there's so many YouTube channels that I follow and podcasts that I follow where it's just it's like a quote from the show or something that's funny and interesting, but it doesn't tell me anything about like what I should be tuning in for. And so I really appreciate with you guys, I can literally like look through your Patreon and be like, oh, they talked about Final Fantasy in this one, I want to listen to that because I'm interested in Final Fantasy right now. So
yeah, it's like
something.
You mentioned Kind of Funny a while ago, and I really like Kind of Funny's content as well. And like they're on Kind of Funny Games Daily, like their episode titles are like, it's like one singular question or kind of thought, even though like they cover like, you know, 7 to 10 things topics on any given show, which is interesting. But sometimes I find myself like deciding whether I want to listen to an episode based on whether like the title is interesting, even though I know in the back of my head that like, okay, that's just one of like 5 or 6 things that they're going to talk about.
100%.
So, you know, there's so many different, it's funny like when you really start to think about something as
simple
kind of mundane as like how
Yeah.
you name a show. There's a lot of different things to consider, and everybody ends up going a different way, but
Sure, yeah,
obviously it's
everybody's
worked
different.
for them.
Right,
They're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
very well. So, you know, obviously
Yeah.
they grew to a point where like they can probably do whatever the fuck they want with their titles, and it wouldn't
Oh,
matter.
yeah.
And that's cool too.
Yeah,
So.
dude, Kind of Funny that it's so, and I, first of all, I agree with exactly what you're saying about their titles, because there's been times where the name of an episode has just been something super weird, and I just happen
something
to
about
tune in for it.
Activision Blizzard and Microsoft, and I'm like, no, I don't want to hear this, I'm not clicking this one.
But
even
then
though
like
even though they could have like a 20-minute discussion about something that I'm like super into, and I'm
exactly,
just
yeah.
foregoing it altogether. So
There's been times where I've gotten into one of those episodes and one of the other topics I'm way more interested in, I'm like, oh, I would have clicked on this a day ago if I had, if
yeah,
I had known that's what they talked about. But Kind of Funny is an interesting one because, you and I both being Kind of Funny fans, I think I've showed Gabe a little bit
Yep.
of Kind of Funny. And dude, what, like, their studio reveal,
it's
like,
crazy.
dude, when I
Crazy.
first
The
saw
spare
that,
bedroom.
yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you, and this is gonna sound like really dramatic and weird, but when I saw that reveal, that studio reveal, I was literally like tearing up
Yeah, no,
because
it's
I've
because you
watched
know
these
where they came
guys.
from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I've watched these guys since they were at IGN, and
Mhm.
then they were like literally in a spare bedroom, and
Yeah.
then they had like this tiny little studio, and then like they deserve all of the success there.
In a very, very self-deprecating kind of way, I'll just say this: watching Kind of Funny get to where they are and like reveal the spare bedroom is kind of like watching ourselves if we had done it right.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right?
Because we started, like when we started our show, we were doing it out of our friend's apartment. Like we were literally in his shitty dining room around his table with like the worst mics in the world,
Yeah.
and people were listening to our show and tuning in, and we had like the worst audio I think you could possibly imagine.
Right.
Which I'm sure we'll get into later, but like, that's, it was very much kind of like a spare bedroom situation. But obviously, and they were all game journalists and whatnot. I had worked at IGN and all that stuff, so that kind of thing probably helped elevate them quite a bit. Obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool seeing them get to a point where it's like all like they're going from recording podcasts in like a living room to suddenly they're in this giant studio with like, what do they have, like fog machines or
Dude,
whatever.
oh man, they have like
That's cool.
the stage is an LED screen, and so they can
Mhm.
bring up like all sorts of stuff on their stage. And yeah, the
It's
fog
pretty
machines,
magnificent. Yeah.
and then they have like a whole area called the lab, which is just like super high-end gaming PCs and Xboxes and PlayStations, all with like different screens
Yeah.
in like bays. And so like five of them could all be playing different. Dude, it's so cool. That studio tour was
Yes.
just awesome. And I remember watching that. I think that was this last winter, right? It was like last like October or
Yeah,
September or
it was
something.
fairly recent. They were
Yeah.
supposed to, I think, reveal it a while back, but then obviously
Right.
I think they had everything prepped and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And I think that pushed them back quite a bit. But I think for a long time, the spare bedroom was like ready to go, but they obviously weren't using it.
Right. Yeah.
So it was a long time coming. So it was cool to finally see them reveal it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just one of those people where I'm like, man, like they deserve all of the success that they
Yeah,
have. Like
I do
awesome
love
guys.
their stuff
Yeah.
for sure.
But you touched on it a little bit. You're talking about kind of how you guys started, and so
Mhm.
do you want to talk a little bit about for the people that don't know? Because I mean, we typically cover fantasy books and sci-fi books,
Mhm.
and we don't do a whole lot of video game stuff. Although Gabe and I are, like as we talked about earlier, we're both very much into video games. And so we don't have a lot of podcasters on the show. They're from the video game space. Would you
Mhm.
like to talk about what you guys do over there at the 4Player podcast and how you guys got your
Yeah.
start?
I guess it's trying to remember the exact order of operations in terms of
Sure.
how we started is a little interesting because we technically started back in 2008, I
Hmm.
think 2007, 2008.
Dang.
And it's been a very weird trajectory, I think, for us, because for me, it started because I actually started working at GameStop for a summer job while I was in
Mm.
college.
Oh, cool.
And my assistant manager was there, and we would always hang out and we would talk. We would spend our entire shifts, obviously, talking about games, um, when we weren't working.
Yeah.
And one day he just pulled out a recorder. And he's like, "Hey, you want to try recording a conversation? I've been thinking about starting a podcast, and just." Or he's like, "I've technically been." He had been recording podcasts off and on with one of our other co-hosts, Brad, who's still doing the show with us even today. So they had been like recording conversations and whatnot and just not really doing anything with them, but they were talking about wanting to start a podcast, knowing absolutely nothing about how to go about doing that. And I was like, yeah, sure. So we started talking and he just recorded it. I didn't really think much of it. And then that became, hey, do you want to come over and record like an actual episode, like where I'm going to actually try and capture it and put it online or something? And I was like, sure. And that was like literally me going over to his house and we're just hanging out, sitting at a table with a little portable microphone in between us.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we were talking about.
At that point, were podcasts like popular at all, or were they gaining popularity?
I think they were probably gaining some traction, but I don't think they were. I mean, they obviously weren't like what they are today.
Now, yeah.
I didn't really know much about what a podcast was. I just knew I really liked talking about video games,
right.
Especially with somebody who was just as, passionate about it as I felt at the time. So, I mean, long story short, the three of us started recording these things, and I created a blog on Blogger, I think it was, and we were just, I don't even remember how we were hosting these or what. We were posting them on this blog, and we probably did 60, 70 episodes with almost no actual like production value at all or marketing or we were just like literally putting them out into the ether because we had no fucking clue what we were doing.
Were they getting seen?
I don't think so. I mean, It's funny. I still have people today in our community and like, hey, where can I find, the first like 100 episodes of your show? And I'm like, I don't know.
They're in the void.
But there are people in our community that they're like, oh, don't worry, I have them somewhere. And just actually like a month ago, somebody, oh my God, actually, this reminds me, I completely forgot to message this person. Somebody in our community reached out because they were having this conversation. And he was like, I actually have the first like 100 and whatever episodes it was on a hard drive at home. And I was like, and I messaged him and I was like, hey, dude, I would very much like to have those myself because I don't have them. And he was like, oh, yeah, I can just put them on a Google Drive somewhere and like share them with you. And I was like, that would be great. And I haven't followed up with him about that. So
that's cool, though.
We went for like a year or more without like any indication that we were doing this correctly. There was a huge hubbub because sometime at one point somebody commented on one of our podcast posts, but like it was in Russian. And I'm pretty sure it was just like a bot or something.
Yeah.
But like we didn't care. It was just like, oh my God, somebody commented.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody heard us. So that was kind of a big deal. But for us, it was actually Twitch that kind of changed everything. Yeah. And in fact, it wasn't before Twitch was Twitch. It was called Justin TV. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that. So we were actually, I feel pretty confident saying this. We were probably the first people to stream video games on Justin TV, which is, and we kind of an aside. At some point, we were invited to be on a panel at TwitchCon. Yeah, because they did a panel for OG streamers, whatever, and it was so we let Brad go to be kind of like our representative.
Oh, cool.
So, and I could be wrong, but I'm fairly confident we were the reason gaming streaming on Justin TV took off, which I guess inevitably led to Twitch breaking off and becoming a thing.
Right.
I don't remember how we did it, but it ultimately led to us one day we were going to the original Condemned was coming out on the Xbox 360.
Okay. Yeah.
Or I guess it was Condemned 2 actually. Condemned 2 is coming out on the Xbox 360, and we figured out how streaming worked. It wasn't a direct feed. It was all of us in David's bedroom playing it on his TV with a tripod camera behind us, zoomed in on the TV, capturing his. I want to say it was even a CRT television, capturing us playing this game. And, at first we had like, 2 or 3 people watching us. And then I don't remember how it happened. It just slowly evolved. And then all of a sudden there was a developer of the game who was in our chat. And suddenly there was like 1,000 people watching us play Condemned. And it just kind of took off from there. And we started clipping things out, like funny things that were happening on our stream. And to this day are probably the most successful thing we've ever actually done was release that clip from our Condemned 2 playthrough called Holy Crap, That's a Bear. which if you play Kingdom 2, you get attacked by a grizzly bear in a cabin, and it's like a 6-minute long just stream of consciousness of us just screaming our heads off trying to survive this bear attack.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I gotta see
It's
this.
god awful audio. I'll warn
Yeah,
you now. It is
sure.
it is painful. Don't watch it with headphones in. It is terrible, but I think it has millions of views at this point. I could be wrong.
This
That's
is
awesome.
awesome. I didn't know about any of this. This is so cool.
So we were doing that for a while, and we were just kind of piggybacking off of the success we found on Justin TV, and then we started like, why don't we start streaming us recording our podcast?
Yeah.
And suddenly we were recording podcasts, and we were on a good night, we were having like 800 to 1,000 people listening to us record these podcasts live on Justin TV.
Nice.
And in the total honesty here, we were doing this before Twitch was a thing, and that kind of represents when we were our most successful.
Sure.
Because eventually Justin TV became Twitch TV. Suddenly a lot of other people started getting interest in it, and a lot of people started streaming. So you started to see kind of diminishing returns. Like, so we started to notice that it was like, okay, now we're getting like 600 people on a night or whatever.
Right.
And as Twitch blew up, and then I don't remember when it was, but eventually it got to a point, obviously, where it's like consoles were building in Twitch apps, so you could anybody and their mother could stream with like the flick of a button. And when we got to that point, it was like, okay, a good night's actually more like 80 people are watching us. You know what I mean? Like, it's just because everybody's streaming.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's kind of up until this point. It's been kind of trying to claw our way back up to the glory days, which is, you know, obviously we've kind of accepted at this point it's not going to happen.
Sure.
You know, at this point we are basically 6 people more or less doing this show weekly. We all have different things going on. None of us are doing this as our full-time job. It's just something we really enjoy doing. We went to E3 for like 10 years, and then E3 died.
Yeah.
And we were going to PAX, which is kind of, you know, mini arcade expo, which was a lot of fun because that was where a lot of our community, we do community meetups and stuff. So that was great fun. But we haven't really been doing that lately. COVID especially has kind of changed all that.
Right.
And now, you know, some of us have kids, and some of us, you know, we're all doing full-time jobs and stuff. So it's really, at this point, it's really just something we really, really deeply enjoy doing.
Right.
So if you know, talking numbers, whatever, we're not even a fraction of what we used to be in terms of popularity, and that's fine. I think we've all kind of come to terms with that. But it was definitely just a very interesting trajectory for us, because we kind of did it backwards, because usually people start these things with the intention of like getting up to having a huge audience on something like Twitch, but we literally just got it because we were one of the first people to ever do it.
Right.
And then it was just kind of like downhill from there. But like crazy shit happened because of that. Like there's another incredibly stupid clip that is insanely popular on YouTube. Called Scooter Brothers. It's a Grand Theft Auto 4 clip of Brad being a complete idiot.
Come on, Scooter Brother! Let's go, Scooter Brother! We will go on a journey of scooters! Join us!
In Grand Theft Auto 4, and that has, I think, more hits than the other one. It's in the millions. Whoa. And Rockstar actually put a Scooter Brothers Easter egg in Grand Theft Auto 5.
What?
Without, you know, we didn't get any royalties for that either.
Sure.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, the irony of that one though is that clip only exists because somebody else clipped it out and posted it on their YouTube channel, so it's not even like our.
I see that. I'm looking at it right now.
So we got kind of fucked on that one.
Yeah.
I can cuss, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I didn't ask.
No, you're good, dude.
So like some crazy stuff has happened, and you know, we were lucky enough because we built up an audience. We were, you know, for a long time we tried like writing stuff. We had, you know, some of us had, it was a varying degrees of interest kind of thing in terms of like who wants to write, who doesn't, and some people want to do video content, some people don't, some people just want to do the podcast, which is I think something that comes with the territory when you have like 6 people wanting to be involved, and they all kind of got on board being interested in different things.
Right.
So it's gotten to the point like right now our bread and butter has always been our podcast.
Right.
It's something we've done religiously since 2008. We very rarely miss shows. So it's just something that we're all already doing, and we enjoy doing it. So, we used to stream. There was a long time where we streamed every single day. Well, someone would be streaming.
Oh, cool.
So that was our like attempt at kind of like holding on to the numbers that we had. So like we just gotta do it. We were a variety streamer, but like it got to a point where the people who are successful on Twitch are not variety streamers. They're people who play, League of Legends or Fortnite every day.
Yeah.
Call of Duty every day. Like those are the people who truly find success. And we're the kind of people who just like, well, Brad's gonna stream on Monday, I'm gonna stream on Tuesday, I'm gonna play whatever the fuck I want. I don't really care. It's just I'm playing and y'all are gonna come hang out with me and watch me. And that's really all we've ever really been interested in doing. Like we didn't really feel like playing to doing what you would have to. Yeah. So we all eventually at some point just kind of be like, okay, well, we love doing this, and we'd rather keep doing this than turning it into something we don't love anymore and then eventually quitting because that would suck. So these days, we stream when we kind of feel like it. We record a podcast every single Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/4Player podcast.
Boom.
All spelled out, by the way, all spelled out. The number 4 spelled out because when we first made our account, on Justin TV, you couldn't put numbers in the thing. Right. So we had to spell it out. And then we got partnered on Justin TV. So we got all the partner benefits, whatever. So we got grandfathered into being a partner on Twitch. So we're still Twitch partners. Cool. But we couldn't change our name. So since 2008, we've been 4Player Podcast, all spelled out. It sucks having to say that.
Yeah.
But we'd rather keep using the juice we have than trying to like build something back up. So
definitely.
So that's that. But yeah, these days, we record these podcasts. We just talk about video games, talk about industry news. Right now, our big thing is we're doing a fantasy league, fantasy critic league. I don't know if y'all know about this. This is kind of a newer thing. Easy Allies was the first show I've heard do something like this. Yeah, and we've it's quite honestly, it's kind of reinvigorated our love of podcasting because it's taken this thing that we already love doing, which is talking about video games, and kind of turned it into like a competition. So it's like fantasy football.
Let me tell Gabe real quick. If you don't know, I mean, obviously you know what like fantasy football is, Gabe. Yeah. So basically, this is the same kind of thing, except what you're doing is paying attention to kind of like video game news and what's going to come out, and kind of paying attention to kind of what's on the schedule for the year. And instead of bidding on players and hoping that they do well, you're bidding on a game. So like if you know that Starfield is coming out later in the year, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to put all my points or money or whatever on Starfield. And if it does well, so everything is ranked by this website called, is it Metacritic, Nick?
It's Open Critic, which is very much like Metacritic. Yeah. So points are actually, you draft, so you do an initial draft, kind of like just a football draft, right? So you draft games at the beginning of the year, and then everybody has a budget. So throughout the year, you can bid on other games as they're announced, as release dates are revealed, or just kind of like, I feel like this game is going to do well. So you can bid on it, add it to your roster. There's been competition there. Obviously, you can trade games, all that stuff. Right. And then when the games come out, the point system is based off of their Open Critic scores, which, like Spencer said, is So it's even if they review poorly, it's all based on Open Critic scores. So if a game scores 70 or higher, you get a point for every point over 70. If it goes 90 or higher, you get 2 points for every point over 90. Okay. If it goes below 70, it's the same thing, but in the reverse. Backwards, I think there's a cap on how many points you can lose in any single game. So I think it's 20 points per game. So if something scores like a 30 out of 100, you can only lose 20 points. Okay. But you don't really expect that to happen, especially considering you're making like educated guesses. So for sure, you feel pretty good about most things. Right. I got kind of fucked on Redfall.
I was just about to ask about this. It was Redfall that you had?
It was Redfall. I drafted Redfall on my at the beginning of the year, and that game came in at like a 58. So I lost 12 points alone on that game. So it's just a really fun kind of like and it turns everything into kind of like this like vicious but playful competition.
What do you think your best game is that you have on your roster for the year?
Well,
I thought it was Starfield.
Brad got Starfield. I actually, my first pick on my draft was Final Fantasy 16, and to be fair, it scored well. It got like an 89, so I pulled in like 19 points on that, which is good.
Nice.
But I'm playing it right now, and I have super mixed emotions about that game, and it kind of bums me out because I don't know if anything on my roster is really going to end up performing better than it. But I did just bid on a game called Gravity Circuit, which came out last week. And it's like a Mega Man. It's like an homage to the original Mega Man, and it's sitting at a 90 right now, but it only has 4 reviews. So I'm kind of like refreshing like every 5 seconds, waiting to see more reviews come in. So that's kind of nerve wracking.
Yeah.
But that has the potential. Reviews right now are very positive. That could potentially be my winner or my hit for the year. We'll see.
Yeah.
I also have like 3 or 4 spaces left that I need to fill, and also there's a bunch of games on my list that I drafted because I've never played fantasy football, right? This is kind of like my first fantasy thing I've ever done. So I got kind of, I didn't really know what I was doing, right? But I also like to bid with my heart. So like I'm picking games, and there's like 3 or 4 games that are on my roster that I'm pretty sure are going to be delayed, which means I can drop them if they get delayed.
Yeah.
It's a caveat though, because if a game gets delayed but they don't tell you it's delayed, if it's just like it's coming out in the winter and then they just never say anything about it, and then the winter comes and goes, and it's like it's stuck on your list. But the moment they say we're pushing it to next, spring or whatever, you could drop it and then bid on something else. I have like 3 or 4 games. Like I have Stalker, Shadow, or Heart of Chernobyl on my list, but that game is being developed in Ukraine, so pretty sure that's not coming out this year. Just waiting for confirmation on that. I got the Silent Hill 2 remake on my list. I don't think that's going to come out this year, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So it's just a lot of waiting around and trying to make educated guesses. But point is, like, it's kind of made everything like super fun, and we're almost certainly going to keep doing this going forward. And it's kind of become like a weekly segment on our show. We start the show out by talking about like what's been bid on, what new release dates have been announced. And then anytime there's news related to a game that's like on one of our rosters, it's like, well, let's talk about this. Like, what does this mean for how do you feel now about your pick, and like that kind of thing. It's just kind of recontextualized everything, which is a lot of fun.
Right. And then it gets to a point where you're like, guys, we have to move on from Fantasy Critic.
It really does. Like sometimes we've moved on to a completely different segment of the show, and then like Brad will be like, bring it up. Well, I'll be talking about it. It's like, stop it. We've stopped talking about Fantasy Critic. And he's like, I don't care. I got to talk about it. So it's addicting, but it's a lot of fun.
So how does, and not to belabor this too long, but how does the initial bidding work? Like, could you have bid on Starfield, or did somebody get that before you?
So you roll at the beginning when since it was our first time doing it, we rolled the dice, and somebody got whoever, I forgot how we determined it or whatever, but Nolan got to be first pick, and then we just kind of like determine the order, and then you just do basically 8 rounds, and because we drafted 8 games in our initial draft, so everybody got to take turns picking a game. So like the first game that got drafted, I don't know can you guess what it was? Because it was a game that everybody knew was coming. Everybody knew was going to be off the chain. Like it was.
I mean, it had to be Starfield, right?
No, that's like
Creed?
No,
you're forgetting about a huge. It's a game that's already out, and it is the best reviewed game of the year so far.
Okay, wait, hang on. Oh, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
Zelda, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom. So like Nolan got first, and everybody knew whoever got first was going to pick Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom. So like we're like waiting. We're like, Nolan, come on, don't do it. Don't fuck us on this. Just pick with your heart, Nolan. Pick with your heart. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You think I'm gonna pick Zelda, but I'm gonna pick something else. And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm picking Zelda. And we're like, and sure enough, he got 36 points on that game by itself. So like everybody at this point is already conceded. Everyone's already like, well, Nolan's winning this thing. And he also happens to be he also plays fantasy football. So like he's got it on lock, but he's doing, we're coming for him. We're trying.
Can I just say that it almost kind of bums me out that Zelda is obviously like almost unanimously going to be game of the year for so many news outlets, when so many other cool games and I love Zelda. I don't want to act like I don't, but there's so many other cool games. Like this is the best year we've had in gaming for a long time, like as long as I can remember.
I will also say this: one of our other things that one of our traditions on our channel, on our YouTube channel, and on our website or whatever is every year we do a top 10. We do our top 10 list at the end of the year. Our video production guy Chris Davis puts these wonderful videos together. Not a lot of people watch them, whatever, but we love putting them together. We love talking about the games that we love. So we do a top 10 every year. I'm pretty much decided, because Chris Davis was already like, if you want to do it, you can do it. I think I'm gonna do a top 20. I could fill a top 10 list with the games that I've played right now up until this point, and we still got 5 or 6 months left in the year.
Right.
So it's and there's some heavy hitters that haven't even come out yet. So I'm probably gonna do like 2 videos, like 20 through 11, and then 10 through, So it's been an absolutely insane year. I will tell you this: while Tears of the Kingdom is almost certainly near the top of my list, I haven't finished it yet. I have not finished Zelda, but I am fairly confident it won't be my game of the year. There's already a game. There's a game I've already played that I think I still have. I haven't stopped thinking about since I finished it, and I think it's probably going to beat Zelda. I don't know if I want to say it, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's not a lock for me, but I'm sure there will be tons of other people.
Now you've got me wondering what that other game is.
The only thing I could think of that I've heard you mention is like Hi-Fi Rush. That was one that came out.
That's up there. That's a pretty good game.
I need to play it. The only
Game Pass, baby. Game Pass.
Yeah, I have Game Pass on my PC now. The only thing that I'm a little worried about is I'm not good at rhythm games.
Neither am I.
And
it's like, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like baby's first rhythm game.
Okay, cool.
But like it's all like even if you mess things up, like you can't even really tell. Like the music's still like kicking in. It's just they use it to like kind of like build up combo meters and stuff, and you do more damage. But like it's not. If you're not like great at music and rhythm games, I don't think it's going to hinder your experience at all. And it's just like one of the best stories, like just it's got amazing characters. It's so good.
Yeah. Okay. So then I definitely need to play it, because that was going to be my next question. Is everything I've heard about it is like, oh, the combat is so cool and like the rhythm and all that, but I haven't heard anything about like the story and characters.
Oh, it's excellent.
Like, okay.
Yeah, it's cool. Like all the characters they introduced in that game. Like you have by the end of it, you have it's like ragtag group of people together, and like all of them I think are shoe-ins for like character of the year or side character of the year. Like it's like playing a really good RPG where like everybody in the party is just awesome and you're like talking to everybody. It's like it's one of those. It's so good.
Yeah, I definitely need to play this game. The other question I wanted to ask real quick was, we're talking about Zelda and I don't have a Switch. And Gabe is on the side of Spencer, go out right now and buy a Switch and play.
Oh,
Zelda.
I know where this question is going. You're about to ask me about a Switch too, aren't you?
Well, so that is a fair question, and I would love to ask about that if you know anything, if you've heard any rumors. But my question is, the only thing that Nick, I feel like you and I have very similar taste in games. The only thing that I really know about on Switch that I'm really interested in playing is like both of the Zelda games and maybe Mario Galaxy or whatever the most
Odyssey.
recent Odyssey, and so those are kind of the only ones that I have really any interest in. If I bought a Switch, would there be enough for me to constitute that $250 price tag?
Dude, I think even Breath of the Wild by itself should constitute that fucking expenditure.
I tend to agree. I tend to agree. Those two Zelda games are just like, they're system sellers. They're absolute, but like also, there's a lot of good Mario games on there. I do Mario plus Rabbids is you'd think it's dumb, but it's amazing and it's charming. Now there's 2 of them and they're both really, really good.
Okay.
Also the Switch is just really good for like ports. Although if you have like a good gaming PC, it becomes less of a thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're specifically looking to play like a lot of these really good like kind of indie PC games on the go, and you don't have like a Steam Deck, the Switch is a great substitute. But also there's probably a bunch of stuff that I'm not thinking. I mean, like also there's a new Pikmin game coming out this month.
Dude,
I'm pretty sure that game's going to be fire. Pikmin's great.
Yeah. You know what
I mean, honestly,
you know what I am excited about is I was
Hmm.
watching I think it was Kind of Funny doing their reactions to the Nintendo Direct,
Mhm.
and there is a Mario side scroller game that just got announced.
Super Mario Wonder, yeah.
Super Mario Wonder.
That's
Gabe,
gonna be good.
dude,
Mhm.
Gabe, go onto YouTube real quick and just kind of watch like
I'm already looking at it.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it like I
Oh,
am
I
not
hate.
I'm not the side scroller guy. I'm not the Mario side scroller guy, but seeing that I was like, this looks really
I
cool.
remember
Like,
playing like the old school, Mario games on my DS, the
Yeah.
first edition DS.
yeah.
Mhm.
That was a school bus game, and I
Oh yeah.
freaking God, it was so much
Yeah.
fun, dude.
Good
So much
memories,
fun.
huh? Good
Good
memories.
memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is not to bring it back to the fantasy critic thing. See, I'm doing it
Yeah,
on this
go
show
for it.
too. Like now
It's all good, dude. It's
Do
all
it.
good.
Go wherever you want.
So I bid on some point, like early on in the year, we started talking about like what are the chances they're going to announce a new Zelda or a new Mario game, right? Because like what can
Oh,
compete with Zelda, right? So
Yeah.
like everyone's
Yeah.
like, well, they announce a 3D Mario game, that'd be crazy. So like you are limited to what you can bid on based on what's in the Fantasy Critics website. They have like a library of games you can, but like people are updated. It's constantly being updated with stuff. So like whenever there's like a rumor of something being announced, it usually gets added.
yeah.
The thing is, you're taking a gamble. So if you only get one, and these are the rules that we play with, and it's
Right.
I think pretty standard, right? So you get one unconditional drop. You can drop anything no matter what. Like they can announce it and you could drop it, even if it's coming out this year. But once you've done that, you can only drop things if they've been delayed.
Okay.
So,
And in
but
order for
unannounced
you to-
titles are in there.
In order for you to get points, it has to be released this year, right?
It has to be released and get
Okay.
reviews.
Right.
So like, but like if a Mario game gets announced, it's going to be a bidding war. Like everybody's going to be bidding on it. Whoever
Well,
has
why
the
would
most
you-
money.
Why would you bid on it for this year's thing though? Wouldn't it be released like next year?
Well, that was the gamble. It's like so like Nintendo always does a Nintendo Direct event right around E3 time, which would be June, and they hadn't done one yet. And Zelda obviously came out in May, so people are sitting here asking themselves like, well, what does Nintendo have for like the holiday? Like they need something. Zelda can't just be the only thing they have for the rest of the year. I mean, they technically could, but it's highly unlikely.
Sure.
So like people started like talking about a Mario game, and there's rumors about a Mario game coming. So and like here's the thing: if they announce it and they say coming 2024, you can just be like, okay, I'm dropping it.
Right.
So
okay.
like I was like, but if I bid on it now when nobody is really serious about bidding on it, I can maybe get it for cheap. So I bid on an unannounced 3D Mario game. 3D is the key word here.
Oh,
okay.
Unannounced 3D Mario game. So I got it for like $3, which is cheap as hell.
Yeah.
Because nobody else was willing to bid on something that hadn't been announced yet. So I got it. I was like, it's in my pocket. So I got it. I have my unconditional drop. So if they don't say anything about it if they don't announce it, I can just drop it. If they
For
announce
sure.
it, but they don't say anything about a date, I can still drop it no matter what. So I'm good. And then they added unannounced 2D Mario game to the list of games you could bid on. So they had made a distinction at that point between it doesn't matter. There's a 3D Mario and a 2D Mario. So now it's like,
You're like,
if they announce a new Mario game and it's 2D, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Right.
And what happened?
It's
They announced
2D.
a 2D Mario game, and I had to use my drop. I was just, oh my god! Like that's the kind of like spice
Yeah.
that
For sure.
we're going for. It
sure.
was I was so mad. I was so
Yeah.
mad because somebody else in
Oh.
our Crispy in our group picked up. He was like, "Well, if you're gonna get the 3D Mario game, I'm gonna snatch. You got it for like $2."
Yeah.
And because nobody else was like, I was like, the timing feels right for a 3D Mario game.
Yeah.
No,
For sure.
2D Mario. 2D
But
Mario.
so-
I got fucked.
Well, so is
That
the
sucks.
2D Mario coming out this year though?
Yeah, October.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah. They gave it a hard date, like not even like coming in October. It's like coming October 29th, I think is what it
Oh,
is.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
October
sweet.
is going to be an absolutely stupid month. Like that's Alan Wake
Yeah.
2, Spider-Man
Dude.
2,
Oh my god.
and I like 6 other games I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now.
Dude, I legitimately don't know. Just from like September and September and October alone, I'm just like, dude, how am I gonna play? There's gonna be a point. I think that when Starfield drops, and I've never done this in my life, but I think that when Starfield drops, I'm gonna take like a few
Time
days
off work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
like,
that sometimes.
legitimately, I think I will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
there's just no other way.
Just wait for reviews. It's a Bethesda game. It could be so
Ooh.
riddled with bugs it's unplayable, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I
We've
know.
had lots of conversations about that on our show because the question is like, I don't think Microsoft would let that happen right now. Like they're hurting for like exclusives. They're hurting for like big wins, especially after the Redfall debacle. They already delayed this game for a year. It was originally supposed to come out last year, I think, at some point. So I think they're putting all their money behind this game because they want it to be they need it to be a success. So I think it's probably fine, but just
so here's
be careful.
And here's the thing. I am almost 100% of the time the guy that's like, wait for reviews and see what happens and then buy the game or whatever. Starfield and
Game Pass
and Alan Wake. Oh yeah, Game Pass, good idea.
Starfield's on Game Pass. That's insane.
True.
That's true.
Insane.
Yeah, that is insane. But yeah, let's say that it wasn't on Game Pass. I don't think there's a reality in which I don't get that game day one. Like
I think we all have those, right?
Yeah.
Like you know it's a bad decision all the way around, but you're gonna do it because you have to.
Yeah,
and that's fine. I think everybody has.
Damn, it's huge, dude. I'm looking at it right now on Game Pass. It's 200 or no, hold on.
It's at least like 150 something.
100, okay, yeah.
Gigabytes, right?
It's like it's like Call of Duty, dude.
Yeah, it's a massive.
That's cool though.
Massive.
I'm pre-installing it, or doing the pre.
Are they already doing installs on it?
Whoa, I'm pre-installing it right now.
Oh dang, that's crazy.
It's getting real.
Yeah. I'm so excited for Starfield. I am trying to not let my hype run away with me because there's been some things that I'm not like super happy with. Like you
say that about every single game though, dude.
Yeah, because every single game has caveats. But like especially with Starfield, it's like there's no land rover, like there's no like ship on planet travel. There's no mount or anything
not yet,
like that.
Anyways.
No, there's just they can't do it with their creation engine. Like they can't make it.
You can.
Like maybe modders could or something, but
I feel like they could figure something out in the future, right? Like updates, or whatever. If they can make a ship, they could probably make a little vehicle.
I was like that. They made this insanely detailed like ship creation thing for like flying ships off world. It seems silly they wouldn't be able to make a land thing, but you're right. Like I don't think I've seen anything about Land Rovers or anything along those lines.
No, yeah, I mean Todd has come out and specifically said that there won't be like in planet travel with rovers or anything. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos where people have gone into like why that may be, and again, it could happen in the future. I'm not saying it can't, but at least at launch. Basically what people are saying is the people that get really into like the tech side of things and whatnot, they've kind of broken it down, and something about their creation engine, the speed at which it loads the environment, it wouldn't be able to
keep up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to handle like a vehicle moving quickly through that environment. And so something like a horse in Skyrim, like you're just going a little bit faster, but with like a star speeder kind of thing, the loading can't keep up with the speed at which you're traveling.
I mean that does make sense.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, you're right. Like I haven't they didn't say anything about it. I don't like they didn't really highlight it much or say anything about it during that big demonstration they did. But everybody was so like it was one of those like they're like, look over here, it's so pretty, and everyone's like nobody over here going, where's the Land Rovers?
Right.
Where's the car at?
Exactly. And
show me the car.
I think the other thing is too, like Todd hasn't really said how big the planets are gonna be, so we don't know if they're like these massive planets or if they're more like a Outer Wilds situation where it's like it's a planet, but you can.
Outer Wilds is a good video game,
dude.
Oh my god!
I remember
we love Outer Wilds.
Oh,
at 4playernetwork.com. I just want you to know that,
dude. Yes, that is. I don't want to say it's like one of my favorite video games of all time, but playing that game.
We say it.
Okay, yeah.
We say it all the time.
Playing that game was akin to like a spiritual experience. Like that, I'm not kidding. Like the first time I remember loading up that game, And Gabe, do you remember this game? It's the one where
Yeah, I
you could
played
get
it.
into the spaceship and go into space
Yep.
and drop into all these different planets. And it's like the first time that I got up into my ship and like realized what the physics were doing, I was like, oh, whoa. And at the time I had like this massive TV. It was like 70 inches something.
Mhm.
And I just was I was just looking up at like space.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy shit. And you feel like you're this tiny, tiny thing in space. Like it really feels that way. Because there's a lot of games where like, you're flying through space, you're flying through the air, and it feels like a video game. This was the first time where I got anxiety from like flying through space, and that one planet where it has like its own atmosphere, and you get in there and there's the tornadoes.
Yep.
And dude, the first time you drop, you don't know what's on the other side of that atmosphere. You don't.
Right.
And you drop in there, and all of a sudden you're like this close to the water, and there's tornadoes and storms happening around you, and you're just like, oh shit.
Sheer
And,
panic.
like,
Sheer
dude,
panic, yeah.
Oh my God. That was the first time I experienced that. Was just one of the most incredible things, bar none, that I've experienced in video games. And one of my favorite things is like bringing if a friend is over like at my house and they haven't played that game before, I'm just like, oh, let's load into
That's
this. real
that's
quick.
what you did with me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
and
just
we played it, and I was just shook, dude.
yeah.
It's
I'm like,
insane.
I'm like, just
The way that-
experience this for a second, like
Freaking
the way that
anglerfish,
game, the way that game kind of just stealthily teaches the player the rules and how things work, and like the mystery, like, and
what
like the
everything is.
non-hand holding that it gives you, like the way
Yeah.
you unravel that story and that mystery, and
Yeah.
and it's completely, it feels like it's like one of those games that makes me feel like the smartest person in the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's so rare when games do that, and
Yeah.
that's just one of the best examples I can think of.
I know right now, or for the past like dozen years or whatever, it's been super popular to have like quest markers and a mini map and all this stuff. And I definitely appreciate that in certain games. But God, I wish we would get back to the days where things were a little less hand-holdy.
Let me tell you about an amazing video game. If you haven't already played this or heard of this, it was my game of the year last year, above Elden Ring.
Oh.
Above Elden Ring. Elden Ring is my number 2 because of this game.
What?
Tunic.
Yes, I wanted to play this. I'm not a super big fan of the isometric stuff, but yeah.
Let me tell you, that game, very much like Outer Wilds, when you start to like figure out what's happening and how the world works and how like some of the secrets are hidden and how you're expected to discover them, one of the most mind-blowing games I've ever played.
Yeah,
cool.
That's
I don't even like, it's just like I played this game for like 15, 16 hours or whatever, and then I looked at something, and I'd been looking at it for the whole game.
Yeah.
And then I realized what I was looking at, and it made me look at the whole game differently.
Whoa.
And I was like,
cool.
What the fuck? And
That's awesome.
that turned into a game, and this is when I knew it was my game of the year. I stayed up until like 3 a.m, and I had a steno pad, and I was like writing shit furiously, and I was like, oh my God.
That's
I was like
awesome.
drawing maps and shit, and it was just like, and like, you know the meme, what is it? Is it from Always Sunny?
Charlie with his board.
Yeah, or he's like that was me. That was me playing that game. And my wife got into it, and we were both sitting here trying to figure out this like huge puzzle that's kind of like hidden in the game. And then she was like, this is blowing my mind. And then she went and played it herself because she was like, this is just ridiculous. I can't just sit here on the sidelines.
I have to try it.
Yeah, I'm gonna download it.
I'm installing it right now.
It is
it's
so
only like
deceptively.
3 gigs, so.
I will tell you this: it is so deceptive in the way it does this. You're like, I talk to people all the time in our Discord about this because people are like, I don't see what the big deal is about Tunic, and I'm like, just
play it.
Keep going and just use your eyes and just think about things beyond what's on the surface. Right. And it's one of these games where like it doesn't, like, everything in the game is in like some foreign language. It's not real. Like you can't read anything. It's all, you just got to like look at things and try and figure out what it means. And it does, the coolest thing about this is it's a love letter to like playing games on like the Super NES, right? When you had the original Zelda or something like, and it has an instruction manual that is fully illustrated, kind of like an instruction manual was back in the day when you would buy a game, and it would come, and you're collecting pages of this instruction manual, and that instruction manual is telling you how to interact or how to interpret the world around you without using actual language that you can understand.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's so cool.
It's wild. But also, caveat, you could probably play that entire game and not see the matrix code and then be like, what the hell is the big deal? Because you can play that game like a Zelda game. You can just play through it, you can fight the bosses, you can solve the little puzzles, you can get the sword and shield and fight the final boss, and the credits can roll, and you would never know that there was this crazy thing under the surface.
Okay. Hopefully I'm smart enough to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure out like how I even kind of got turned on to it.
Sure.
Because it's like one of these things where it's like chances are you will probably accidentally do something that makes you go, what?
Wait.
That's how that works? Right? And then it makes you go, well, where else have I seen shit like that in the world? And can I do that same thing I did here over here? And then you go do it, and then it just kind of like you could see it from a different angle, and you'd be like, oh, well, that kind of implies you can also do this.
Right.
And then does that correlate to this? And you just start to be like
keep going, rabbit.
Like, yeah, you just go tumbling down the rabbit hole. It's like one of the best rabbit hole games I've ever played. It's insane, but it's very much like Outer Worlds in
Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds.
Yep.
Outer Worlds and Outer Wilds is a crime. Those two.
I know.
Games.
Yeah, I agree.
And they both came out at like the same time too.
Yeah, it's. I still to this day I'm like, am I talking about the right game? Do people think I'm like? I like Outer
Worlds.
Yeah.
I like Outer Worlds. I guess. I mean, it's good enough video game. It's a cool little like Bethesda homage kind of thing. It's good, but it is not Outer Wilds.
Oh no, it's two completely different games. But I got balls deep into Outer Worlds. I got so like that, and I'll talk about this more in a minute.
Wait, Outer Worlds or Outer Wilds?
Outer Worlds.
Well, both of them, but Outer Worlds right now is what I'm talking about. Is like that was one of those games where I would go to work and I would think about that game while I was at work, and then come home and play that game. And
that's how you know. Like that's when I have feel like that. Like that's how I know when I'm playing like a game of the year contender. I'm like, I'm thinking about it at work.
For sure.
Yeah. And I want to go back to that in a second because I want to talk about what we've been playing lately because I'm experiencing that again. But real quick before we leave the discussion of the games that don't hold your hand, I want to ask: did you ever play Morrowind? I know Gabe's gonna roll his eyes, but Nick, did you ever play Morrowind?
I have not played Morrowind, but Brad on our show that was kind of one of the games that like made him an Elder Scrolls fan. And it's why Bethesda games mean so much to him. It's the first one I ever played was Oblivion. It didn't really click for me. And this is gonna sound super predictable, I guess, but like Skyrim was the first Elder Scrolls game that I actually clicked with. And played all the way through to completion. But like Morrowind is definitely. We even have a friend who, actually Brad to some extent too, but Daggerfall was the precursor to Morrowind, and like that's even nerdier. That's just like
Daggerfall is a little too early for me, but
that's like hearing them talk. Like I've heard Brad and our friend Joseph talk about Daggerfall for just and they like I was like, oh my god, y'all are some nerds, but like well, so are we, but like they go hard on Daggerfall. So
Daggerfall is a little bit too deep for me, and maybe it like wouldn't be if it wasn't for the graphics, but
it's a hard game to go back to.
But would you ever consider, now that you're like older and you like the games that don't like hold your hand as much, would you ever consider going back to Morrowind because there's a lot of mods and stuff that improve the graphics dramatically?
I would say so. One of the things that I've been trying to do pretty consistently on our show is not on the podcast, but on our website, I suppose, in our community, is we started a thing called the Revival Club a long time ago, and it's kind of like been on and off for a while. So it's kind of like a book club where we pick a game that's like nowadays we try to pick games that are older and relevant to something happening. So like I could theoretically say let's play Morrowind because Elder Scrolls 6 is technically in development, even though it's going to be like 6 years away.
Yeah.
Like it's on, people are talking about it. So like, let's go back and play Morrowind. So
Yeah.
like right now I'm technically playing Final Fantasy 6 because Final Fantasy
okay.
16 just came out, and
Right.
I've never played Final Fantasy 6. So
Okay.
you know, that would be very much something that I would consider, probably only in that context where it's
Right.
like, okay, I'm going to commit to playing this because we're doing it as a community and I'm
Right.
doing it for the sake of talking about it in this context.
Okay.
I don't know if I could ever find the time. It's hard enough to
Sure.
find the time as it is now, especially in
Yeah.
a year like 2023 when it's
Oh,
just rapid fire releases.
Yeah.
I'm always trying. I'm secretly always trying to kind of like replay something that I love,
Yeah.
or play something from the past that I skipped or on my backlog or for whatever reason.
Right.
2023 has made that very difficult.
Yeah, no kidding.
I am drowning in new games,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to stay that way probably until the end of the year.
Definitely.
But
Well,
yeah, I would consider it for sure.
yeah. So Morrowind is in my top 3 favorite games of all time. It's
Nice.
that is that and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time are literally the reasons why I'm into fantasy and sci-fi. Like both of those games completely shaped how I think about, you know, that genre and stuff. And so Morrowind is one of those games where it doesn't hold your hand. There are no quest markers. You have a journal that tells you like what you've been doing, but it doesn't tell you what you need to do next necessarily.
Yeah.
And it's very, very difficult. Like I'm sure a lot of like the Dark Souls community, like they'd probably enjoy it a bit. It's definitely not the same like combat system or anything, but
For sure.
it's I love that game so much. It's one of the few games that I've played that feel immersive and magical. Like it feels
Mhm.
like you are experiencing magic. I remember the first time I played it, like they drop you in like that initial town like Satanin, and then you go over this and everything looks normal. It's kind of like swampy or whatever, and you kind of go out of the town and you know you go over like this little hill, and as you come up over this hill you see this expanse with all of these like rivers and streams and giant mushrooms
Yeah.
and like these lizards that have like saddles on them and stuff like that. And it's just one of those moments where the world opens up in front of you and it's just like holy shit, like it's such a good
Yeah,
moment.
and that's kind of like
moment.
Bethesda's always been kind of trying to recapture that moment. That's
Yeah.
why they always have like at the beginning of Oblivion, it's when you escape the prison and you come out into the sunlight for the first time, and it's just like blinding.
That's a great moment too.
And same thing with Fallout when you come out of the vault for the first time in Fallout 3. Like they try to create those like really impressive moments where you see the world for the first time. Also, you should play Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
The first time you walk to a cliffside, you look out and you're like, what
Whoa.
the
Mind-boggling.
fuck?
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah. That's up there.
I've been trying
Also,
to get him to play Breath of the Wild since the day it came out.
Yeah.
well, he needs a Switch first.
He needs a
Yeah,
Switch. I
I
know, but
know.
that's what I'm telling him. Buy a Switch.
I
You just
know.
spent $3,000 on a computer. You can spend $200 on a Switch.
Yeah.
I
It's
know.
the Switch is kind of a no-brainer. It's a
should've-
great system.
I should have seen if there was any on Prime Day. Do you guys know if they were discounted or anything?
I don't know. I never looked for that in particular anyways.
My wife went because my wife was recently, up until recently, she was using my hand-me-down, my launch Switch.
Yeah.
Because I got one of the OLED models a few months back or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she was using that one, and it's like I could be in here playing a game with my headphones on, and she could be in the living room playing Zelda on her handheld, and you could hear the Switch struggling.
Yeah, the
Sounds
little
like a
fan.
jet.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like loud. So she went like she texted me the other day while I was at work. She's like, I did a thing, and it's like a picture of a box. She went to Costco, and she's like, it's like a picture of a box. And I was like, you bought a Switch, didn't you? She's like, yeah, I come home with stuff. And yeah, I came home, and sure enough, she has a brand new OLED Switch. She's sitting there
Nice.
playing Zelda. It's just, you know.
Is
By the way,
is the OLED
my
worth
wife
it?
is playing. I mean, I think it's just kind of the way to. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're gonna
it's
get a
kind
Switch,
of
it's
the new
just,
standard. You know.
yeah.
it's
I mean,
just-
it's not like. I mean, it's not going to blow your mind or anything, but it's a nice screen, and it's. I think it's just. Yeah, I think it is just the standard, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Okay.
more expensive than.
No.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's in that regard, it's worth it.
Yeah.
But so I'm juggling all these games, right? As I always do. My wife laughs at me because I'm like playing 1,000 things, and I've played 70 hours of Tears of the Kingdom so far and haven't done much in the grand scheme of things in that game. But I'm playing Final Fantasy. I'm playing a bunch of other shit, and she picked up Zelda because she'd been watching me play it. She picked up Zelda like 2 weeks ago, and
Breath of the Wild or Tears
of the Kingdom.
Okay.
She's probably gonna go back and play Breath of the Wild because she's probably gonna have withdrawals after she finishes Tears of
Yeah,
the Kingdom.
that's
Which
right.
let me tell you,
Right.
she's about to finish Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
She has lapped me. She did this with Elden Ring too, which is just a byproduct of me trying to play so many things. But she watched me play Elden Ring. I was playing it for like 50 hours, and she's like, "Okay, fine." She went out and she bought Elden Ring, beat me to the end of Elden Ring. I was still playing Elden Ring, lapped me, beat the game a second time. I mean, the second playthrough is a lot faster than the first, but like she just lapped me in Elden Ring, and she's about to do the same thing in Tears of the Kingdom.
Wow.
And you know, it's just one of those games, man. You can't you buy a Switch, if you get one of those Zelda games or both, you're not going to care, even if it's the only two things you ever play on it.
Yeah,
that's right.
They're incredible.
Totally justifies.
Tears of the Kingdom does things that I just didn't think were physically possible in video games. And you want to talk about a game not holding your hand, which is weird. I feel it's weird saying about a Zelda game because Nintendo has historically been terrible at not holding your hand in games. Like, it's just, and all of a sudden they make a game like Tears of the Kingdom where it's just like, okay, there's a thing in front of me. I don't know if I can do what I'm about to do, but I'm just going to try and fuse these two things together and see if I could use physics to make this thing work. And oh my God, that just worked. Like, that is the whole game.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's insane. It's like they overcorrected when people were like, "Stop holding my hand." They're like, "All right, fuck you. We're not gonna hold your hand."
Right, you're in it now.
It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, get a Switch, man.
Okay. Yeah, get a Switch, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's pretty good.
Now,
I will. All right, so let's jump back to some of our bullet points here. I wanna kind of wrap up some content creation stuff. Let's see.
Hit me.
So what's been the best thing about starting the podcast, and what's been the hardest thing? And
the best. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And then just kind of to go on the end of that, what do you guys see for the future? Like, what do you hope for, 5 years down the road or whatever?
Okay. The best thing, I mean, depending on who you ask on the show, it's probably gonna be a different answer, potentially. For me personally, the best thing to come out of doing the show was, for the longest time, I just was playing video games, and that was just kind of the thing I really enjoyed doing. And I always wanted to, like, a dream of mine for a long time was to go to E3, just because it seemed like a really cool fucking thing to do. And because we had a website for the longest time, and we were for a while trying to write stuff, and that's where we started posting our podcasts. We technically qualified as media, so for a while we didn't really. I was like, I don't think it's going to work. We're going to apply, and we applied, and technically because of our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel, which was starting to be recognized by E3, we qualified, and we went to our first E3 in 2009, I think it was 2008, 2009.
Okay.
And that was kind of a life-changing experience for me. And we went every year. I mean, not all of us went every year, especially because sometimes they would move the goalpost so many times about how you qualify. It was like for every 10,000 unique hits per month on your website, you get one badge or whatever.
Right.
And that was a moving goalpost. So sometimes we'd have 2 badges. Sometimes we got 4. Like, it just didn't make any sense. Especially when we were like, I don't know. I know we're not like getting better numbers.
Right.
Like I said, we were kind of going down, but like they kept changing the way things worked. So we managed to get there every year.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so like being like, for me, I always love going to like the press conferences and stuff. Almost more than I liked being on the show floor. So like being in the room when they revealed The Last Guardian, or being in the room when they revealed the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah.
You were there for both of those?
Yeah, I was there for the first reveal of God of War God of War 2018. Like being in the room when that was shown for the first time and nobody had any idea what the fuck we were looking at was.
Had to be so hyped, dude.
Was it just deafening, the amount of
people lost their shit.
So cool. So cool.
Also,
That's
one
so
of my
sick.
favorite memories was like, because also again, I can't stress this enough. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. Like sometimes we ended up in places, and the most fun I think I've ever had on this adventure, I think, was like trying to make content for people at home because essentially people would support us to the point where we could go to these things, and we were trying to like, we don't have all the like the resources like Kind of Funny does or whatever, right? So we're trying to do something for people, and so we would like be carrying cameras with us everywhere, like little handy cams, and trying to film like little like diaries and stuff about us, like just so we'd have a bunch of video content to give to people, which was a huge pain in the ass sometimes, but like it ended up being some of the most fun content we've ever made. And sometimes we somehow just luck of the draw, we end up in these stupidest situations in places that we clearly shouldn't be. The year that they revealed, we went to the Bethesda press conference in, I don't remember what year this was. I think it was 2016, 2015, where they revealed Fallout 3 and the new Doom for the first time, and Dishonored 2 was shown there for the first time. And a lot of times we end up at these things and we're in like kind of a side line, like people who have actual like invitations, which we most of the time we didn't, so we just kind of had to get in the reserve line and hope we got in. And sometimes we would end up with the best seats in the fucking house. Like, I swear to God, I watched the Bethesda press conference where they revealed Doom from like the presidential, like, the seats that are like above the crowd on the sides. We were in these like one of these like booths where we had like 4 seats. We're just sitting there. And also, I can send you a picture. Like, we're like, I could throw a rock and hit Todd Howard in the face. It was awesome. It was insane. I was like, I don't know why they put us here, but like I feel like we have better seats than most of the people who were actually invited to this thing. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
And then another hilarious clip you could probably find online. The first year, I think it was the first year we went to E3, was the year they were revealing Project Natal. Do you remember this? The Kinect, the Xbox Kinect camera.
I
know. Remember that?
I remember the camera.
Remember the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know what Natal is.
It was called Project Natal before they called it Kinect.
Oh, the camera was?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I had one of those.
Yeah. Same.
So we went to this I want to say it was the first press conference we ever like tried to go to and get into, and it was this whole thing. We're trying to figure out how the fuck we're gonna get into this thing, and then we ended up in this line, and we're like, I don't know what this line is, and then they took us through this like back hallway, and I was like, I don't feel like they're taking us in like a side door or something. What is this? And then they give us,
nobody knows what they're there for.
They give it like they literally, you had to go through this room, and it was like going into like a room where like laser tag, right, where they have all these like football pads or whatever, like things hanging on the wall, and you had to like put one on to go. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So like I had to put this thing on, and they usher us through there was like this weird hole in the wall, right? And it was like shaped like a rectangle. And they're like, all right, now you have to crawl through this hole. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But okay. So we climbed through the hole, and all of a sudden I'm on the set of this, like it was for like G4 or something. And there's Jeff Keighley talking to people on a couch, like interviewing people about Microsoft's new camera thing, right? And we are just extras in the background, people coming out of the TV, because there was like they had like a TV screen cut in the wall, and we were like coming out of the TV. So like they were just ushering us out, and we had to like walk through the door on the opposite side. And then all of a sudden I was on the floor of the arena, and everybody on the floor that wasn't sitting in the seats or whatever was wearing these like flashing shoulder pads. And we're like, what the hell is going on? And then when the show started, Cirque du Soleil came out, and we were part of the Cirque du Soleil performance. And like there is video of me being accosted by a Cirque du Soleil person. I can send you the link after we finish.
You should. You definitely should. Yeah.
And I was put on national. I was on Nickelodeon or Nick at Night and MTV, and there were people. There were people doing like shows, like reaction shows for these press conferences or whatever, like on YouTube, who were like featuring the clips of me trying to figure out if I was a paid actor or not, or if I was actually impressed, or I don't know how they got impressed from my face. I was actually just in complete shock. It was I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever been a part of. but like that clip has
Wow.
followed me around for
Oh, I'm
however many
sure.
years.
Yeah.
And but on the side note, I was also like walking around the crowd and I was like, that's Rosario Dawson right there.
Oh shit!
Just like just walked
For
by me. I was
Dishonored
like,
too.
I mean, she must have been there for that, but she was just like walking around the arena floor, and I was like, what?
God.
It's bizarre.
That's
So like, yeah,
crazy.
so that was just a very long-winded way of saying going to E3 has been kind of just one of the biggest joys
Highlights
of being a
of-
part of this.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I
something
ask real
always
quick?
managed to happen.
Were you there the year where they had the big was it Dark Souls 3, the big Dark Souls 3 statue with the wasn't it like
With the blood or
falling
something.
down and
Yeah, they actually did that. They were traveling around because like we went to E3 and PAX that year, and that same
it was at
thing
PAX.
was at PAX. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean their team would just basically pick that thing up and move it wherever they're
Yeah.
like whichever con they were going to. But yeah, there's shit like that all over the floor. So
dude.
yeah, I have so many E3 memories. I love that. And I'm
That-
super proud of all that stuff, even though
Yeah.
we didn't have any clue what we were doing or even if we should even be there.
right.
But we did our best. What was the second part of this question? I'm
No,
sorry,
yeah,
that was a
you're
really
good.
long answer.
The second part was what's been the hardest thing about doing the
Oh,
podcast?
the easy one is just coming to terms with the reality of the situation, which,
Sure.
like I said earlier, is just, we lucked into an audience and we had it for a very long time, and just kind of watching it dwindle and not
Yeah.
being able to do anything about it. I
Yeah.
struggled with that a lot.
Yeah, I
Um,
can imagine.
And I've if Brad were here, he would tell you about all the times I've just like messaged him and just been like, I don't know if we should, what's the point? Like, why are we even
Right.
doing this? And he had to like talk me off the ledge like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Being like, dude, are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? And I'm like, yeah, of course I am. He's like, then who the fuck cares?
Right.
Yeah. That's what
And
we've
that's
always.
and and that's kind of where we're at now.
Yep.
It took me a long time to come to terms with that, and now it's a lot less stressful. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel the pressure. I don't feel like I have to stream every single week. If I don't feel like it, I can just be like, sorry guys, I'm not going to stream tonight. Or
Yeah.
I can just be like, nobody's live on our channel right now. Fuck it, I feel like it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and even if there's like 20 people at most watching, I'm just like, whatever. I don't even look at the numbers anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I know
that-
is maybe antithetical if you're like, the assumption is that like if you do this kind of thing, the goal is to be like super successful at it. And
Right.
for a while it was, and
Yeah.
it's not really the reality of our situation anymore. But like, I think we're all a lot happier now, and
Yeah.
we just enjoy talking to each other about video games, and if people want to listen, that's great. And I think all of us are happy as long as we can just continue to do this. So the other
Yeah.
part of your question is, what do you see for the future? I mean, the easy answer is I want to just do whatever is necessary to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as we can get something out of it, and some people are getting something out of it, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because E3 is dead,
Yeah.
I think. So I don't think that's gonna happen again.
Yeah, at least there's
Um,
not something like that is like, oh, we're not going to that this year. Or
There
whatever.
is
like,
the-
you know,
E3 2019 was the last one, and that was the last one I was at. And then there was the year that we thought it was going to come back, and it was going to happen. And I was coming to terms with the fact that it was gonna be the first one in 10 years that was going to happen, and I wasn't going to be there. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm just, on the bright side, I'm not going to have to use a bunch of vacation days to do this.
Yeah.
right?
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. But in my heart,
I don't
was
want to
like,
go
oh my
anyway.
God. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to go. But I secretly, of course, I fucking wanted to go.
Yeah.
And then they just canceled it, and I was
Right.
like, well, I guess I can say, I mean, at least at this point, I can say that I went to E3 every year until it died.
Yeah. Yeah,
True
that's
that.
awesome.
If it happened next year, I probably wouldn't be going. Not to mention, I'm still a little iffy about being in a place that crowded.
Sure.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm at peace with it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
future wise, I just want to keep talking about games and getting enjoyment out of it, and hopefully people will tune in and listen for that kind of thing. And that's kind of where we're at.
Amen.
yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at as well. And I think that especially for you, having seen that much success and then it kind of going down, that I mean, I can't imagine how difficult that is. Like, we've never had really
It's weird.
Yeah, like
It's
yeah.
very weird.
Yeah, that's
Um,
got to be tough.
it's ass backwards, actually. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Like we were very lucky very early on, and we enjoyed that success for like 3 years probably of just like being like, God, we have like hundreds of people watching, and that we were very happy with that. And then we just had to slowly come to terms with the fact that as more people are doing this, it just it's
the
everything's
splitted.
Market's splitting, people are finding their own niches, and people are doing their own thing. And for a while it was hard to not be bitter about that, but we all eventually came to terms with it, I guess. So
and it's tough now too, because a lot of people are doing short form content, and so you're seeing a lot of people like Mr. Matty Plays or Luke Stevens or like Lone Vault Wanderer, and they're all doing like 20, maybe 30-minute videos if they're really pushing it. And that's kind of what people are tuning in for. And even me, like I, for a long time, and I guess I still do, I always considered myself one of the people that was like, no, I'd rather have like the 2 or 3 hour content and listen to that during the day while I'm at work. And then kind of this past year, unfortunately, I've felt a lot more, just as a viewer, I felt a lot more like, like if I see something that's like 45 minutes, I'm probably not gonna watch it unless I have like a particular attachment to that content creator. Like I watch your guys' stuff, and there's a few other podcasts that I'll watch the entirety of an episode. But if it's someone that I don't really know that well, and I see that it says like anything above like 40 minutes on it, I'm typically like, but there's something else on the same topic that's like 20 minutes long. And it's hard as a viewer, and it makes
also
it tough.
It's also really strange for me, and I didn't mention this, but like I didn't know what the fuck's the point of streaming was, and I still don't really know what the point of streaming is, because I am kind of, and this is nothing against streamers, because there's a lot of really talented people out there streaming and making amazing content. I have never understood the appeal of watching somebody else play a video game, which is crazy. As someone who's been streaming for a long time and has been like for a long time, the health of our audience was based on how many people could we pull in by playing games and having them watch us. And some of us are more into it than others. Personally, I don't think I've spent more than like 2 or 3 hours ever like watching other people's Twitch content, but that's just everybody's different with the kind of content that they ingest.
It's crazy, because have you ever watched like the Rad Brad? He does like the video, like the game playthroughs. He's huge. He's got like millions.
This is me being ignorant again. Like I have no idea.
And that's fair. Not everybody's gonna know every content creator, but like this guy has like millions of subscribers, and his videos, he does like these, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, all these
all the way
walkthroughs
up to like part 100 of part 200.
Like
I tried to make a let's play once, like kind of like that, right? Sure, like do like I think I tried to make like a silent. I was gonna I'm gonna do a Silent Hill let's play, because I was like really excited. So I started, and I got like 4 episodes in. I was like, this is a lot of work. I don't like. I'm spending more time working on these videos than actually playing the game. And really, I just wanted an excuse to play the game. And like that's kind of why podcasting kind of became the thing that we were so into, is because it leaves us the most amount of time to do what we actually love doing. And the least amount of time actually focused on like produce. It sounds terrible to say it like this because we're content creators, but like producing content. It's just it was the best fit.
I mean, you gotta find something that allows for your hobbies and your like outside of the podcast and stuff. And that's why on Saturdays we have a video that goes up that's usually me sitting in front of a camera for 20 minutes and talking about like a topic in the book community space kind of thing. And those require me to sit at the laptop and take out my green screen and do all of the flashy editing and stuff, because those are like the proper like YouTuber videos that are fully
eye catchers.
And then on Tuesdays what go up are like podcast episodes, where really luckily for those, I can sit there and on one screen I can have a video game going, and on the other screen I can have Adobe Premiere open, and I can just kind of listen to the podcast as I'm playing a game and kind of edit as I go. And so that leaves me the most amount of time to
That's
be
impressive.
able to play games.
I don't know if
while
I
It
can
is.
split my attention
It
that
is
well.
impressive. It blows my mind every time I hear him talk about it. Because
Yeah.
that's like literally what he does. He'll be playing like Dishonored and also editing a video at the same exact time. Like
That's
play for 10
wild.
minutes, set the controller down, edit for 2, come right back to Dishonored while
Yeah.
he's
Can't even,
listening to the podcast.
I can't even like listen to a podcast recreationally while playing. a game. I
Oh,
cannot.
really?
I can't.
Yeah, I
split-
can't either. I'm the same way,
okay.
dude. I can't
I have
do
to
it. I gotta
focus
be.
one. I have to be like 100%
I'm the
focused on the
same way.
game, or I might as well not even be playing it.
Yeah, because
Interesting.
most of our podcasts is, well, we listen mostly in Audible for the books
Mhm.
that we.
Audiobooks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Spencer's, like he's like, well, I'm playing video games. He's like, well, are you, listening to the book? And I'm like, no, I can't do that, dude. Like I'm trying to play a game right now. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I just put one headphone in and listen while I play. And I'm like,
Wow.
if I did that, I would not understand anything that the book was telling me because my focus isn't
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is Spencer's a psychopath.
there. Yeah. Yes, he
That's
is
insane.
definitely a psychopath.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I tell people that and they're like, that is
They're like, what the
insane.
fuck?
But yeah, well,
More
like,
power to you, though.
yeah,
True
I
that.
was-
Yeah, if you can
like-
pull it off, man, that's awesome.
yeah, I think that it was just kind of one of those things where I'm like, early on, I was like, okay, I just can't sit in front of a laptop and edit for a 3-hour podcast. Like I just can't sit there and watch our podcast and like edit,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, for that amount of time. Because as I'm sure you know, Nick, when you have a 3-hour podcast, you're editing for 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like it's not like just because you have a 3-hour podcast doesn't mean it takes 3 hours to edit, at least for us.
Right. I mean, I do the audio podcast for the most part. So like I take all the
Yeah.
Audacity recordings, merge them together, and I clean up the audio as best I can. I can do that. And albeit I'm not an audio engineer, I could
Sure.
there's probably people who could do like a much cleaner final product than I could. But it takes me about to like edit a podcast and put it up online and set everything up, schedule everything, and make the post on the website. It takes me about 2 hours.
Yeah.
But we do have Chris Davis who does our video production stuff, and I don't know how much time he spends on, but he also like lives for video production. Like he
Yeah.
loves making videos. That's why
There
we
you
get to
go.
do these top 10 videos every year, is because he loves making them,
Okay.
which I thank
that's
God
cool.
for every day because I love having them.
Yeah.
I hope one day he doesn't just wake up and decide, oh, you know what, video production sucks.
Yeah.
Because then I'd be like, but no, because I still want these videos, but I can't do it.
Yeah,
So I
so-
need you to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure he spends a lot of time doing that, but
Yeah.
you know, everybody's process is a
For
little
that,
bit different.
That's right. Everybody's got their talents.
See if I can find
God.
this Project Natal video.
Yeah, I want to see it. Man.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I found the Scooter Brothers.
Ah,
one,
yes.
so I'll be,
Here it
I'll be
is.
I'll have
watching
to
that.
watch that. Man, it's so funny. I'm like, I'm doing all of this today on. I ordered a new monitor on Prime Day, and it's a 43-inch Samsung G7. Oh, okay. There it
Wait,
is.
how big?
It's a
47
43-inch
inch,
computer
or
monitor.
43. Freaking
And
crazy big.
Jesus.
Yeah. He sent us
It-
pictures. Our friend Chris was
Yeah.
like, "Is that even gonna fit on your table?" And Spencer
Yeah.
was like, "I hope so."
and like in
We'll
my
see.
head, because I've had for the past, I don't know.
Bro, my TV is 30 inches. My television is 30 inches.
Dude, that's so wild. Yeah, because for the past like I don't know, maybe like 5 years or so, everything I've had was like 60 inches and bigger. And so I think in my head, I was like, yeah, 43 inches. It's not that
But the thing
big.
is, how close are you to it? You know,
I'm
like,
so close.
yeah,
I'm
and
like a
for-
foot and
dude,
a half away.
Yeah, I've got a 27 inch on my laptop, and it's fucking almost more than I need.
Yeah, exactly. And so in my
Is it curved?
no, it's not curved.
Oh,
And
what?
I wish that I had gotten like a smaller, like curved one. Because now I'm
Is it 4K?
oh yeah, it's 4K
Nice,
4K and it's 144 hertz. So it's a good gaming monitor. Like it's a
Yeah.
really good gaming monitor. But it's just so fucking big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm having a little bit of buyer's remorse. But
Yep.
at the same time, like it's cool, but it's just a lot. Like it's
Yeah,
just
you'll just have to like take a couple scoots back, or
Yeah.
something.
Like,
well, as long as you play with a controller.
You-
I like
you-
to play mouse and keyboard, so you can't really
yeah,
do that.
I play everything with a controller, and it was nice. Like last night, I was playing some games later on in the night where before with my smaller monitor over here, I have like a 32-inch or something over there, and with that, I was like, you know, I would sit there and play the games, but I couldn't. I have bad eyesight, as I'm sure many of you can imagine. And so, you know, I couldn't like lean back all the way and kind of like sit several feet away and play the game because the screen was smaller and I had to kind of like be up on it to see. Dude, with this screen, dude, I'm like 3.5 feet back at least, all the way reclined in my chair, just sitting there like playing the game, looking
Nice.
up at the screen. It's
Nice.
so nice.
That's awesome.
It's so nice to not have to be like up on it. Well, so I want to ask, almost 2 hours into the show, I want to ask, what are we playing at the moment? What video games have kind of hooked us lately?
Who's gonna go first?
You can go first if you want.
I can go
Yep,
first.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm playing Final Fantasy 16, begrudgingly a little bit.
Yeah, you have mixed feelings about it.
I'm having some incredibly mixed feelings about that. Mostly stemming from the fact that whenever that game is doing like when I'm playing the main story of that game and like crazy epic Game of Thrones-esque style shit is happening, I am like in it and I love it. It's great.
But then,
all the side stuff, I'm not gonna mince words. It's trash. It's bad. It's just
Wow.
it is
Do you-
like I am
you have to
every
do side
second.
stuff?
You don't have to, but like, you know, Final Fantasy to me has always been about doing side stuff. Like otherwise
Okay.
you're just playing like a linear action game at this point, because it is
Yeah.
an action game. It's not an
Right.
RPG. No matter how much they want to tell you it is, it's an action game.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm open to them switching genres a little bit, but every second I am talking to an NPC doing side stuff that is not related to like the bigger, grander story, I am on my phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like not even consciously making that decision. It is just like my hand reaches for my phone and I'm just like, I am bored.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah.
But like the main story is great and the epic stuff is sufficiently epic, but
Yeah.
it's just a slog. I'm like 35 hours into it. I'm just like, I've never started a Final Fantasy game and quit it,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to start now. So
Right.
I'm going to finish this.
You're doing
Yeah.
it. You're
Like
doing
when I look back on it, like the stuff that's good, I will remember it as good. But the
Yeah.
side stuff is, I am trying to like mainline it now.
Yeah.
The real game that I'm playing that I was like, this is a game of the year contender is Dave the Diver.
Oh,
Oh,
I
I've
just
heard
saw
about
that. I
this.
literally just saw that. It's popped up in my feed or whatever you want to call it on Steam.
That game is legit, and if you like sushi, it is so good.
Sushi.
It makes
I love
it makes
sushi.
you hungry. I mean, the whole game is about. I mean, you spend. It's like the game is kind of split into two things. You spend the daytime hours in the game, like morning and afternoon, diving into the ocean and catching fish, and then at night you help run a sushi restaurant.
Whoa.
So you're fishing for the fish
food you're
and then
gonna,
taking it back, and then you're managing. So during like when you're at night, you have to like hire staff and choose the menu based on the fish that you've just fished out of the ocean, and choose how to spend your money. And you can train your employees so they can do new things, like they can learn how to like clean tables and pour beer and
Interesting.
stuff.
Okay.
And then you're also trying to like, you're hiring new chefs so you can cook faster. So as you get more popular, more people start showing up to your bar, a sushi
Right.
bar. And so it's, and on top of that, it just has this like really amazing like personality. The game's fucking hysterical. Like
Oh.
That's
Dave
awesome.
Dave is a hilarious character, and the cast of characters that are helping you take on this venture of like running this restaurant are just this really colorful cast. They're all like the guy who like helps you upgrade like your harpoon and the guns that you like take down into the ocean to like fish and stuff is just like this anime weeb who like just like it's like when you upgrade your weapons, it goes to this like anime style cutscene where he's like, it's like super dramatic, but he's like sitting at his computer with like eating Doritos and stuff, and he's like it's just, and he has like an anime cuddle pillow and stuff. It's just
okay.
it's hysterical.
Okay.
I mean, it's all very tongue in cheek. It's
Yeah,
you know, it's in
for
good fun.
sure.
game is fantastic.
Okay.
No way in hell the game doesn't end up in my top 10 at the end of the year.
Wow.
It's phenomenal.
Okay. Very cool.
And then what else am I playing? Zelda. I'm playing Zelda.
Right. Okay.
When I remember that I still have hundreds of hours of Zelda to play, I play Zelda.
Right.
And that's kind of it right now. But I have like 20 things kind of queued up waiting to go.
Same.
Like I picked up Gravity Circuit, which is that Mega Man style game that I'm eager to play. I hear that's pretty short, but like really good. So eager to play that.
Sorry, real quick. Speaking of Mega Man, I was going to ask this earlier. Did you ever play like Mega Man 64 or like Mega Man Legends?
I am like the worst person to ask about Mega Man. I have never played. I have watched lots of Mega Man. I have listened to hours and hours of people on our home podcast talk about Mega Man.
Okay.
I have never played a Mega Man any significant amount of time.
Okay.
What's drawn me to Gravity Circuit, aside from the fact that everyone's just claiming it's just like a really solid homage to Mega Man, is that it's like if you've always wanted to be a fan of Mega Man, but like you feel like you're overwhelmed by the thought of trying to suddenly get into Mega Man because there's like countless games to like where do I start? Like this is just like the perfect alternative. It's like, okay, this is a one and done love letter to Mega Man. That's cool. You don't have to have any history of Mega Man, but you're gonna get all of like the love and like detail that makes Mega Man great. So that's kind of why I'm drawn to it. But I'm not starting that until I finish something. I have way too many, what do they call it? Irons in the fire, I suppose. Way too many things.
Cool. Well, I wanna give Gabe a second or a chance to talk about Final Fantasy, but before that, I want to say real quick, I couldn't get it because I have a PS4 and I was really upset that it wasn't on PS4 or the PC.
I think it would melt PS4s.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And now that I've played it a little bit, like I understand why. But I went over to Gabe's house. I was in Seattle on vacation for a few days and I was able to go over there and kind of play it a little bit. And when we booted up the game, he said, he's like, it's awesome, but the cutscenes kill me. He's like, the cutscenes are like super long and they're super like, they're just really drawn out. He's like, the first hour of the game is just like a cutscene. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like I love cutscenes. Like if it was just like a Final Fantasy like movie, essentially, I think I would love that. And then we got into the game and we experienced our first cutscene. And I was like,
oh
man, all right. Like, are we gonna play soon? Like, it's just like, what the fuck? And
it does ask a lot of players as far as like holding your attention for cutscenes. I mean, I think the writing is pretty good and like the political intrigue stuff is pretty good, but like, and I will say this too, it is painfully obvious that they drew a lot of inspiration from Game of Thrones.
Oh, for sure,
for this game, and that
so you can tell that in the very first, the very first like scene where you actually get to play. It's totally...
and you can draw the comparisons to like specific characters from Game of Thrones. Like, okay, well, this person's clearly supposed to be like kind of the analog of this person. I mean, obviously, it's not like just copying and pasting, but like, I played like 20 hours of the game and before I realized. I mean, are y'all familiar with Game of Thrones?
I'm super familiar with it.
Yeah, I've actually never watched it, but I've
seen the first couple
to understand
seasons.
Kind of,
cool
the premise.
Well, I don't know if you know this. There's a pretty good series of fantasy books.
I know.
Y'all should maybe consider.
Our new co-host. When we had him on for his first episode as an official co-host, we were talking about like our favorite books of all time. He was talking about like Game of Thrones, and I was like, oh yeah, like we've never read Game of Thrones, and he's like, man, like, is this the quickest that you've ever had someone like quit your podcast or what? Like he was dude, he's like, you guys. Like, if I'm going to be on the podcast, you need to read Game of Thrones. Okay.
I'm going to be honest. It's for a podcast about fantasy books.
I know.
That's kind of a gaping hole.
I know.
But, I'm just teasing. But, like, I was playing Final Fantasy, and I got like 20 hours in, and are y'all still playing, or Gabe, are you still going with it?
Yeah, I'm still playing. I've started something else, so it's again an iron in the fire, but I never made it. I maybe was 5 hours, 6 hours in.
I got like 20 hours in, and I realized that Jill, one of the main characters in the game, is straight up Theon Greyjoy from Like
Oh,
just like
interesting.
when you read her character's backstory, like
Yeah.
that is the setup for the character of Theon
That's cool.
Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. I was
Oh
like
man.
like it's a character that was basically given to she's a ward being taken on by a king, basically being given to this nation to live with them as a means of like
Yeah, you're right. That is
holding a
his story.
peace, like keeping the peace. Like we are going to let you take our daughter and live with your family in this nation as a means of guaranteeing that no one that we will no longer engage in war.
Right.
Like it's good faith. Like that's Theon Greyjoy's kind of setup in a nutshell. And that's exactly, I was like, oh my God, like they're like, sometimes it's like stealthily slid in there and you don't really know it's there. And then you're like, wait a second.
And you catch it, you're like, hold on.
I realized the other day, like there's a character named Goots is his name. I was like, he's not exactly this character, but that's Hodor from Game of Thrones. You know, there's just so many parallels. And a lot of that kind of comes across too in like the pacing. Like it's there's episodes of Game of Thrones where it's just like there's not a lot happening as far as action goes. It is just like lots and lots of political dialogue and intrigue, and for better or worse, that's kind of what it is. As the game goes on, it gets increasingly more action heavy, and things start to go a little more Final Fantasy on you. It starts to like talking about like gods and crazy shit happening, and
that's what I've heard. Yeah, and I think that's what like I said, I'm not done playing it, of course, but I think I was just in a, where I'm at right now. I just wanted that constant action, constantly playing, doing something. And so I moved over to some other games, but I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to stick it out until the.
Cool. Yeah. I'm trying to push through to the end of that. I feel weird saying that because I am enjoying.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying
the action
the game.
What I played was super, super fun. Like very much awesome action and very enticing.
I just hate how much time I spend talking to NPCs, and I feel like I'm watching two crash test dummies talk to each other.
That's kind of how I felt with the cutscenes. Like some of them were like really good, and I was really into it. Just from like I think Gabe and I played for like maybe an hour or something, and the cutscenes were good for the most part, but when you actually get to play and like the action and the way that you can chain different abilities together, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like the combat was so cool, and I was like, this is sick as shit.
Final Fantasy 16 is secretly a Devil May Cry game.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
which is fine.
I was cool. I was loving it. And then there got to be a point like we were in some like swampy area, and there was like this big.
It's right after it's like the first mission after.
The
Marlboro, the little
like the
tentacle
toad
thing,
whatever that thing is. And we were fighting that, and we had just upgraded some abilities where you could jump onto something and then kick off of them, and like you could jump and then slice down, and there was lots of cool shit that we had just unlocked. I'm like, dude, this combat system is awesome. And then when it popped us into the next cutscene, I was like,
and put the controller down for a little bit.
Yeah. Pick up the phone for 10 minutes. All right.
No,
it asks a lot of the player, but it's I certainly don't think it's a bad game, but sometimes I just rage about it, and I'm just like, it sounds like we've talked about that game 3 times on our podcast since it came out, and every time it sounds like we fucking hate that game. People are like in the comments like, God, y'all really hate Final Fantasy 16. It's like, we don't. Like, we just can't help talking about the things that we don't like about it.
Right.
It's a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna play it when it comes to PC, but it was. It's the closest thing that's gotten me to be like, shit, do I need to like buy a PS5 right now? And now that I've played it at Gabe's, I'm like, I'll wait for the PC. But let's hop over to Gabe. What have you been playing lately?
So I was feeling nostalgic, so I picked up the Mafia games.
That's right. Yes.
Yep.
Like starting with the first one?
No, so I've actually never played. I played 1 and 2 several times. I've never played the third, so I wanted to play the third, and then I was going to go back and that's what I'm seeing. But then I was going to go back and play 1 and 2. So I've got that. That's what I play probably the most.
When you go back,
that's cool.
Yep.
They made. I don't know if you've seen this already, but they did do a remake of the first one.
Yes,
I think that's what I have.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the way to go. It's
Dude,
it's an excellent remake.
It's
for sure.
such
Good.
a good
That
remake,
makes me happy.
dude. Oh
That's
my
good.
god, yeah. It's so sorry, not to steamroll
No,
you
you're
real quick,
good. You're good.
but
You're good.
I downloaded the whole set and I was playing Mafia 1 a while ago. I need to finish up the story, but I'm like at least 8 or 9 hours, 8, 9, 10 hours into the story, something. And
Mafia 3 is on my backlog.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've played Mafia 2 a bunch of times. I love Mafia 2.
Yep.
But Mafia 1, I had never played it. And so going in, playing the remake, I was like, dude, this is like, it feels like Mafia 2 with some caveats, but I'm like, this is awesome. Like whatever they did, this is obviously a huge step above
Really
whatever
nice
the original
new
one.
fresh coat of paint
Yeah.
and new
Cool.
animations, and I mean it's still it's still the same game at its core, but it's good.
Yeah.
See, that makes me want to go back and just start that one right now.
It's so good.
Wait, so which one are you
enjoying-
playing right now?
I'm
are you
playing
enjoying
3 right now.
though?
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, and
Okay.
like Nick said, it's different for sure from
Yeah.
what I'm used to. And again, it's been a couple years since I've touched any of the other ones, but I have played 1 and 2 several times, probably 2 or 3 times each.
I started 3 and I really liked it. I mean, it is a bit of a how do you want to describe it? It's kind of one of those open world, like
More like Saints Row or something.
I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of like Assassin's Creed in terms of like the map is just full of icons and shit, and a lot of people are really negative about that stuff. And maybe that's
but I would argue
that's fine. But
I would argue that 1 and 2 probably didn't have enough icons.
yeah, 1 and 2 are very linear. Like they're like the world that you drive through is literally just a backdrop to look pretty while you go between story, which is some people prefer. I mean, that's totally fine. I think
that's what I didn't
Mafia
like
3
about
goes a
LA
little too
Noire.
hard in the opposite direction, but the story is good and the character was good, and I've been meaning to go back and actually finish it.
Yeah,
I bought it on PC on sale or something, and I'm if I ever get through all these new games,
That's right.
one day,
It's there.
I loved LA Noire, but that open world was not one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it.
I mean, kind of like it actually took some cues from Mafia. LA Noire is the same kind of thing. It's a big open world that is literally just there to look authentic when you're driving from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But there's a place for that. That's fine.
Yeah.
True that.
But yeah, I'm glad that you're liking Mafia 3, because I definitely
They should remake 2.
They should remake 2. I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That, and then I've always wanted to play. I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan, always have been, so I wanted to pick up High on Life.
Oh yeah.
So I did that. And I've heard mixed stuff about it, but I'm gonna play it through just because I love.
None of us have played it or talked about it on our show. I'm not really sure, but my wife's been watching a lot of Rick and Morty lately.
That's all I watch pretty much.
Yeah.
I've seen, every day I'm watching Rick and Morty, the same shit over and over again.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I don't know how old. Do you mind if how old are you, Nick?
30. That's fun. My birthday was 16 days ago, and I don't know. 37. I'm 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think have you seen a lot of Rick and Morty then, Nick? Maybe I was gonna say I think it was just before my time, but
I think at this point I've seen the most Rick and Morty because of my wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know, so Nolan, who's on our show, I know he's been a big Rick and Morty fan for a long. So when we were recording the podcast in person, a lot of times our little studio room we set up was at Nolan's house, and a lot of times, we'd all kind of arrive different times because it was after work or whatever. So a lot of times I would get there and Nolan would be watching Rick and Morty, like he'd have it on TV. So like a lot of what I've seen of Rick and Morty too is from just picking up what episodes when I would show up, and the show's really fucking funny.
Yeah.
I'm also a weirdo. Like I don't watch I get so much shit for this. I don't watch comedies. I don't hate comedy. I will never sit down and make the conscious decision to watch a comedy when I could be watching like a drama or like a horror movie or show. Like that's why that's why my default is Dexter. Like I will always go back to Dexter.
Yeah.
When I don't know what else to watch. And that's kind of that's just kind of what I gravitate towards. But when somebody else makes me watch a comedy, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Gabe, tell Leah that she needs to finish Dexter. She was on such a good path. She was so close. And then
where'd she drop off?
I honestly,
think
I'm
like
not sure.
season
Spencer
4.
would know
I
more
think it
than
was,
I do.
yeah, I think it was like late season 3 or early season 4.
Oh
Yeah,
God, that was a
he
terrible
came and
time to drop
stayed.
him.
I
Yeah,
know.
he
I'm
came
like,
and
you're
stayed
right
at my
there.
house, and I would work, and him and my fiance would sit and watch Dexter all
Yeah,
day,
I
and she
was
loved
there.
it, dude. She freaking loved it.
I was there on vacation over Christmas
Yeah.
Christmas time. I was there for like a week or something. And she was mentioning, I forget what they were. She was mentioning some shows that she was really into, and she loves like true crime and stuff. And I'm like, well, all the things you're telling me add up to Dexter.
Dexter.
I'm like, you should probably watch it. She was like, yeah, whatever. In the first couple days I was there, she like, I kept saying it, and she was like, yeah, whatever. And then finally, like the third day or something, like I made her sit
Yeah,
down
you're
with
like,
me
sit
and
down.
watch it.
We're watching this right now.
And yeah, like Gabe's at work,
Yeah.
and then he just comes home, and it's like 8 hours later, and
Yeah. And they're like on the couch
yeah,
chilling. They got popcorn.
yeah,
And
there's
they're all
like
set up with
snacks
some wine.
everywhere, and we've been watching
That's what I-
Dexter all day long.
Yep.
That's like my dream day is just
Yeah.
watching Dexter. Yeah, no, I could do that. Can't I know that show has peaks and valleys, but
Sure.
I don't even care. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watch every episode
Okay.
and love it.
Yeah.
So Gabe, did you have any other games that you're playing right now? I want to get through this segment.
Yeah, not really. I was gonna just talk about Borderlands.
Yes,
a little
Gabe and
bit.
I have
Wait,
been
which-
religiously playing
3.
Borderlands 3. Yeah.
Borderlands
3?
3.
Yeah.
My wife is a
I-
huge Borderlands fan as well.
Yeah.
I'm like the freaking max. of a
Yeah,
fan.
Nice.
dude. It
But I played 1 and 2. I played 1 like day 1.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
I was young, like I was much younger, obviously, but I've loved
Sometimes-
them ever since.
So I don't. I played Borderlands 1, and I gave it my game of the year that year. And I played that
Yeah.
game by myself.
Yep.
And it honestly, looking back on it as, a 37-year-old Nick looking back on it, I'm like, that was a weird choice for my game of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played
Sure.
it by myself. I was playing it solo, no co-op. Just
Yeah.
it's weird. It's just a weird choice.
Yeah,
but
I don't.
For sure.
At this point, I don't know how I would play it solo. Like, I'm sure I could, but I don't.
Dude, I
think...
play it solo all the time.
I know. I know that you're like the Borderlands guy. And here's the
Yeah.
thing: I had never really played Borderlands until
Yeah,
Gabe...
and I've told him several
Yeah.
times, like, dude, let's download Borderlands. Download Borderlands. I don't like that. And
Yeah.
I forced him to download Borderlands 3, and we played it together. And within 20 minutes, he's like, "Oh, this is fucking cool, dude." Like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
Dude,
this
every
is
time
really
I've
cool.
actually,
hooked.
anytime I'm playing Borderlands, I'm enjoying it. It's
Yeah.
sometimes for me, it's like convince myself to actually
making
play
yourself
it.
Getting
do it,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when I
getting
do
there
it-
for sure.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever play with your wife? Do you guys ever team up?
Yeah, we co-opted quite a bit of Borderlands
Yeah.
3, and then something else came out, and I got distracted, and she just kept
Yep.
going, and then she
Yeah.
like double lapped me. I mean, she
Yeah.
Yeah.
she plays the shit out of
Yeah.
like she doesn't play obviously nearly as much as I do.
Does she
because
play
she's
on
not
PC?
doing. No, she has an Xbox,
Okay, Xbox.
Yeah.
alright.
but she's just she latches onto games. I'm obviously
And
trying to
it
like
goes full
stay
steam.
current
For
and
sure.
everything.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to
To
devote
stick
a
to
lot of
one
time.
thing only. Yeah.
But she like latches like she beat Elden Ring twice, right?
Wow.
And then she went back and she's like, I love Elden Ring. I've never played a Dark Souls game. Boom, boom, boom. She went through all 3 Dark Souls
Oh,
games
Whoa.
in a
Dude,
row.
kudos
And I was
to
like,
her. Holy smokes.
you are, and when she wasn't playing Dark Souls, she was watching Vati YouTube videos about the lore of Dark
Wow.
Souls, and she's sitting here trying to tell me about like the nerdiest shit about like Elden Ring. She's like, oh my god, let me tell you about this character in Elden Ring, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying.
I have no
Like,
idea
and
what you're talking about.
I've played this game for 100
Oh.
hours, but man, you are going hard, and I love it. But
Yep,
Dude,
that's
I'm
awesome, dude.
kind of
Yeah.
jealous of it,
For
to be
sure,
honest.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
Man.
really cool.
To be honest, like you are a lucky man.
You are. I wish
yeah.
my spouse was that
Yeah.
dedicated
Oh,
to
well,
video
thank
games,
you.
man.
I
yeah.
can only hope to someday find someone
mean,
that
she
even
also
enjoys
looks at-
video games a little bit. Like
She also looks
Yeah.
at like 90% of what I play, and she's like, I don't like
Nah.
this, and then she like
Yeah.
walks in.
sure.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
Dead Space is her favorite game of all time, and she's trying to play the remake right now on
I need
whatever
to
the
play the
hardest
remake.
difficulty is.
Yeah.
So like Dead Space, Borderlands, now Elden Ring, now Breath of the Wild, or
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom, I guess. I guess Breath of the Wild is the next logical step after
Yep.
she finishes
It
this.
better
'cause she's
be.
never played it.
Yeah.
It better
She,
be.
Yeah.
she's gonna finish it, and she's gonna be like, well, what now? And I'll be like, well, you want to borrow my copy of Breath of the Wild? And she's gonna be like, yes, I do.
That's right.
Um,
You won't
so
see
yeah.
me for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she goes really hard on like specific games for like long periods of time, and the
That's
time
cool.
it takes her to do this, I'm like, playing
already
like
you
16
played like
other
6
things.
games. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like just going through.
It's a curse.
Yeah.
It's a curse. But I do consider myself pretty lucky in that regard.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So
Okay, so I need to talk about what I've been playing so that we can get through this segment. So we mentioned this earlier where there's only been a few games in the past that have gotten me to the point where I am at work doing my day job and thinking about a game.
I know what's coming
during the day.
Yep.
And one of them was Skyrim, of course. Like Skyrim was one that I was so addicted to. I'm sure there's been probably a couple others before that when I was younger. But then the other most recent one, I played Fallout 4 for the first time ever late last year.
Did you play 3 ever?
Yeah, I did play 3. I did play 3 when I was younger.
Play New Vegas too?
I didn't play New Vegas, but I need to.
A lot of people would tell you that New Vegas is the better game between that and 4.
Definitely, yeah,
Yep.
I know.
I don't know if I agree with them necessarily, probably, but like
I definitely need to
love
play
New
New
Vegas.
I think New Vegas was just like, Fallout 4 is it's upgraded quite a bit in the stuff you can do. And I feel like New Vegas is just like a slightly upgraded 3 with a different story.
Better story.
Some people just like that kind of,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Obsidian's really good with with stories, and I think a lot of people didn't connect as well with the Fallout 4 stories, so
sure.
I don't know.
And that's funny. And this was going to be one of my questions on here, but I already had too many. One of my questions was going to be like, why does everyone hate Fallout 4? And because it gets a lot of shit like on YouTube and stuff. And
people turned on that game.
I played it and I was hooked. Like story, everything, characters, story, gameplay, everything about it was just like completely hooked me. And so like I hear what people say and like I understand, but at the same time I'm like I do not agree. Like I still love the story. I think that there's some things that could have been done better with the different factions and the way that you can like play them against each other. I think that could have been like upgraded a bit. But overall I really loved it. I played it all the way through, and
and you focused heavily on this like city building
base
and
building,
settlement building and stuff, which was something I never I played Fallout 4 several times, never once tried to do the settlement thing because it just didn't.
I think honestly, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of the hate for that game kind of stems from they spread themselves a little too thin and started introducing all these things that a lot of people just weren't really into. Base building being something that I don't think many people latched onto. And I think depending on who you ask, they might say that was to the detriment of like the other things that they did care about. Like maybe the combat wasn't as tight because they were spread too thin trying to do all this other stuff. I don't know. I think a lot of people just say Fallout 3 is just a tighter experience.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I got like super into the settlement, like to the point where I was finding glitches to make certain objects fit together.
Yeah,
and
dude,
stuff.
he brought his PlayStation to my house and he freaking showed me, and I was like, bro, this looks like you've spent like 30 hours building the settlement.
What is this, Sim City?
Yeah, dude, 15 stories tall, and
I have like massive
400 turrets around the walls, and he's got like 70 people working different stations and shit. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and live here and say you were probably in the minority.
I know, and
he totally was.
That's the crazy thing. I'm like, this is so much fun. I had no idea that people didn't enjoy, because I knew almost nothing about Fallout 4 going into it because I just never really paid attention.
I think it was a gradual thing. Like when it came out, people loved it. It was just like as time went on, people just kind of, it happens a lot in this industry. People just over time they start to turn on things that they used to love because new things made them see it in a different light, which is fair, I suppose. But like, I've always been the kind of person like, if I loved it then, I loved it for a reason. Right. And even if it's been improved upon down the road, like there's still no reason to like stop loving that thing from before. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I when it comes to gaming, at least I'm kind of a glass half full kind of guy, which is why I butt heads a lot with some of the people on my show who are very much the opposite.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, especially with the settlements, I was so I work in construction and I love my job. Like I love building houses and kind of doing that kind of work. And so I think for me, like building the settlements was just like an extension of that. And I was just like, I love
that
building
would
stuff.
explain a lot.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Totally.
But so that gets me to what I'm playing now. So all that to say, I am currently playing Hogwarts Legacy.
Ah, yeah.
And
Okay.
I
I saw that you were listening to the audiobooks for the first time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Hogwarts Legacy because I've never picked up a Harry Potter book. I've never been into Harry Potter in any way. I always thought it was super, like, I didn't know anything about it, but I thought it was super overrated. I've seen the movies, but nothing beyond that. I hardly even remember the movies. And
I too am a huge Harry Potter fan. It's just a weird time to be a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know. It is a weird time to be a Harry Potter fan.
I did play Hogwarts Legacy. I did play that for like 60 or 70 hours. That's
Okay. So yeah, and I agree, it is a weird time to get into Harry Potter, but all that to say, I had this PS4 and it was before I had gotten the PC, and it was only coming out on the PS5, and I did it launch the same time for the PC?
No, they released it later. In fact, going back to Fantasy Critic, I drafted Hogwarts Legacy on my list.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that, so they were launching them separately. And this can happen. It can review really well on like PS5.
Yeah.
And then if they release like the PS4 version later, they don't separate the versions. So if it's a shitty port, it could drag the review scores down.
Yikes.
Luckily, it doesn't seem to have happened. So can you tell me, is the PS4 version okay?
No. So I'm not playing it on PS4. I'm talking about PC.
He's playing on PC.
I have no idea how the PC version is.
Okay. So, well, for me, it's running perfectly. Like, there hasn't been a single hitch in anything I've done on the PC. And honestly, building my PC, two major factors in that were Starfield was the major one, because I'm not going to buy an Xbox. Right. And then Hogwarts Legacy was kind of the other one where I was like, I can wait for this game. I have no problem waiting for this game, really, but I really kind of wanted to play it on day one. And so, dude, when I built my PC, it was pretty much the first game that I downloaded, and I kind of drifted to a few other games, and then I came back to Hogwarts Legacy, and now I am 27 hours into Hogwarts Legacy, and dude, I am just balls deep in this game. I love this game so much.
So you're reading the books for the first time while playing this game.
Yes.
That's a pretty wild thing.
Right?
I mean, I've been a Harry Potter fan for it's one of those things that means a lot to me, which is why it's been a very tough time to be a Harry Potter fan lately.
Yeah.
But all that shit aside, I've loved this franchise for a long time. I have very fond memories of like picking up. I didn't really get into it until like the 6th book came out, I think, and I remember I read the whole series and then like picked up the new book when it first came out, and I plowed through it in like a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's never happened. And like, so I do fully believe in like kind of the power of that franchise in terms of like what it does for people for like getting into reading and stuff. It really helped me a lot.
Yeah. Real quick, can you imagine that series alone? We're and not to go on a huge tangent, but in the fantasy community, we're seeing a huge spike in fantasy in general, especially like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. It's becoming a lot less nerdy and a lot more mainstream. And I think that's because things like Harry Potter captivated millions and millions and millions of people of this generation that grew up to then make fantasy more mainstream nowadays. And I think, I don't know, when I think about that scale and that scope, and I hadn't really considered it until very recently, and when I started playing the game and reading the books, I hadn't really ever thought about that. But now that I am, I'm like, dude, that's wild. Like a single series captivating that many people on that scale. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the game, I'm gonna be honest, before all this controversy, this was like my most anticipated game of like, it's been my most anticipated game for like 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is why it became really weird when all this controversy started happening, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna play it, and then I played it, and the game is good. The game's really good. It really is good because of the way it plays with nostalgia.
Yes.
Which is why it's interesting that you're reading this simultaneously at the same time as you're playing it, because I was thinking while I was playing it, I was like, if you haven't read the books,
so here's
so much of this is going to be just not going to hit for you.
So here's the thing, and that's kind of why I mentioned like how massive the scope of, you know, how many people were captivated by the series, because even me, someone who never read the books, I saw the movies when I was like 20 or like 19 or 20 or something.
Those are my Christmas movies.
Yes, exactly.
I watched that whole series pretty much religiously around Christmas time every year.
It's a perfect time to watch it.
Yep. My mom tries to make us watch it at least once a year too.
my mom makes us,
I mean, she does.
Yeah.
She loves it.
That's awesome.
She's like the most intense Harry Potter fan you could ever imagine.
We all know at least one or two of them.
Yeah. And so even me, someone who is very much on the outside of this whole phenomenon, getting into this game, I didn't really know too much about the game going in, but I knew it was like a big RPG that was very likely going to review very well, and that it was absolutely gorgeous graphically. Yeah. And so I went into it pretty much knowing only that. Dude, the first time I walked into Hogwarts and that music played,
magic.
Dude,
fucking magic. Yeah.
Holy shit. Someone like me who, like, again, is outside of all this stuff, I have no like real attachment to any of this. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking magical. And so I think that just kind of speaks to the scope of how big this series is. But yeah, and then like things like the first time that you fly on a broom and that music kicks in, I'm just like, oh, this is so sick. And so all of that, playing through the game, I'm just like, you know, Harry Potter is just like Game of Thrones is. Harry Potter is a gaping hole in my, you know, backlog of fantasy books that I should have read. And
which book are you on now?
I'm finishing up book number 4. I'm in the last like hour of number 4, Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
And so yeah, going through this game, I was just like, I think that I need to read these books. And it just so happened that Audible at the time, it was so weird. It's just one of those things where literally right as I'm thinking of this, within the next like day or two, Audible sends me this notification saying Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or whatever the first one is free on Audible right now, and you can listen to it for free. I was like, well, if that's not a sign from the stars, I don't know what is. And so I read it, and I was so captivated by the first book. I just went balls deep in the books. I just bought book after book after book after book. And
it's funny, I'm actually listening to it on Audible as well.
Oh, cool.
I'm actually in book 4 as well. Although it's kind of like my back burner because I have read it quite a few times. Sure. So it's kind of like when the Harry Potter mood hits me, which it frequently does, I'm like, I'll just listen to another couple chapters of this, and you know, and I've made it all the way through book 4 on Audible now, and it's just because I keep getting the Audible credits for being a subscriber. So I just now I have all 7 books. So I'm going back and forth between Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, basically.
That's awesome.
Which is like
I was gonna ask you if you read. I was gonna ask you if you read much. That's awesome.
Yeah, I do. I used to read a lot more before I got into video games. Funny enough.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big time sink.
Sure. That's why you listen to them and you play video games.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't read as much as I used to. I'm trying to get back into reading. So like, I'm trying to like entice myself by like everyone. Like my wife and I will sometimes go on like let's go to let's go do a Barnes and Noble date. So we just go to Barnes and Noble and we buy like 3 or 4 books. And I have like probably 10 books on my shelf that we've done that I've bought that way. And we're just, I'm reading through them very slowly, but you know, that's
cool.
I do enjoy reading. It's just, you know, it's another time sink.
It's another time sink. Yeah,
totally.
But yeah, for me, like, I think it's so, and I think this is really the first time I've been able to talk about this on a podcast. So sorry if I'm so like, but like Harry Potter, it's so interesting because I went into it telling myself, okay, this is a children's book. And I have to know that going in that it's very much going to speak down to me, and it's going to be way below the level of the fantasy and sci-fi that I usually read. Dude, that first book is kind of dark, bro.
I mean,
like,
they're all
like,
surprisingly dark, and it
yeah,
gets darker and darker as it goes.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, so obviously this is geared towards children, but as a 31-year-old man, I am getting a fuck ton of enjoyment from these books. Like I am loving these. Like it is so much fun. And I'm like,
There is
I
something to
can't
be
believe...
said about the mass appeal. Like it's
Yeah.
you know, if you don't close your mind to it and you just kind of like let the characters and like the world kind of speak to you, even if it is kind of like, you know, written for children so that children can understand it and get enjoyment from it, it's still, you know,
I feel like she almost wrote it in two separate ways, to where, you know how like sometimes when you go see like a DreamWorks movie or like a Pixar movie, there's certain scenes that are like, okay, that one's for the parents or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like Harry Potter is kind of the same way in a lot of ways. Like there's times where I'm laughing out loud at the jokes that are happening because maybe it's like some like sexual reference that like a kid wouldn't get, but like to me I'm like oh, that sounds
like when I saw Ghostbusters as a child and I didn't understand why the ghost was unzipping his pants.
Right. Yeah.
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 And then his eyes rolled back in his head, and then like as an adult I was like,
I see what's
I
happening.
get it now.
I see what's happening here.
That's raunchy.
So anyway, all that to say, I don't want to go on too much longer about that, but I am enjoying the hell out of the books, and I will absolutely be getting like one right after the other and finishing it up. And what just happened in book 4, my favorite character, something happened to him, and
we've all read it. You can
it broke my heart. Well, yeah, but the listener, I mean,
you said you've watched the movies, right? So on some level you already know what's going to happen, right?
So that's the thing, though. I watched them at a time in my life where I
don't remember anything.
I think I was like 19 or 20, and I was doing a lot of drugs, and so it's like, you know, it's like I really don't remember a whole lot of what was happening at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, once that thing happened, I was like, oh yeah, I do kind of remember that. It still took me by complete surprise, but after the fact, I was like, oh yeah, I thought that he just got like knocked out, or I thought that he just got like turned into stone for a little while or something.
Murdered.
And and I'm like, oh my God, my favorite character is dead. And so I only see them going up from here. And but
the books get progressively darker and darker. That last book is dark as fuck.
Yeah, that's what I remember from the movie. I remember the movie being substantially darker. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and all that stuff's done really well.
Yeah.
I love those movies. I love those books.
Yeah.
I love, you know, to an extent, I love that game. In fact, there's a really good chance it's going to end up in somewhere in my top 20 for sure. Yeah. Maybe my top 10. I don't know. It's a crazy year.
I think that for me, either Starfield or Alan Wake will beat it for Game of the Year for me.
Alan Wake is on my top 10 games of all time. It's barely made the cut, but it's on there. I cannot wait for Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
There's a mind palace in Alan Wake 2. Your character has a mind palace.
Oh yeah. Dude, I am so fucking stoked.
It's going to be a survival horror game and a detective game with a mind palace.
You're like, come on, how can you not?
Stop it. That game can't.
Stop it.
Oh man, nobody else believes me. Like we have this thing in our because of the Fantasy Critic, like it's the ongoing joke in our Discord is anytime somebody starts talking about a game, everybody just starts throwing numbers out. Like you're like, oh my God, I can't wait for this, and they're like, looks like a 75 to me, and like that's just everyone's just like you just see random numbers being dropped, and everyone's like, dude, it's a Remedy game, it's gonna be like an 80 or an 82, and I'm just like, have faith, guys. I think this game
is gonna.
I think this game's gonna slap. I think it's gonna pull high 80s.
Yeah.
If I'm lucky, it's going to hit 90s. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is a Remedy game, and they don't have a history of really breaking into the 90s, but
sure.
I have a good feeling about this one.
Yeah.
What are some games lately since you've done this that have broke the 90s or even, higher 90s? Are there any?
So Resident Evil 4 remake is in the 90s. Zelda's in the 90s.
Yep.
Hi-Fi Rush didn't quite make the 90s. I think there's been like 3 or 4 so far this year on Open Critic, but Resident Evil. Oh no, Dead Space didn't quite break 90s. Yeah, it's only been like 3 or 4 so far.
Gotcha.
It takes a lot to break.
I'm sure. Yeah, I could imagine.
Especially if it's a big release and games
did.
pull in like hundreds of reviews. So like it becomes hard to maintain the 90s, which is why Zelda's 96 sounds insane. Because it has like 300 reviews and it's still at 96%. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not really holding my breath that it's gonna break into the 90s, but I think it'll be a 90 in my heart.
Yeah.
That's
that
all
game's
that
gonna be
matters.
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Alan Wake, the original Alan Wake is like one of my favorite games of all time. I don't know if it quite gets into my top 5, but it's definitely somewhere in my top like 7 or something.
Great memory for me of playing. One of the few games in the long history of us doing this that I received a review copy of.
Oh, cool.
And I got the review copy about 48 hours before its actual release, which was also the same day as Red Dead Redemption, which went on to become one of my favorite games of all time as well. So I got Alan Wake 48 hours before the release, played it through in like one sitting, like one 10-hour, 11-hour sitting, and I was like, this is blowing my fucking mind. I love this game. I wrote a review for it, gave it a glowing review, went out the next day or whenever it was that the game came out, and paid full price to buy it. It's like, I already have the game. I've already played the game. I love this game. I want to support it. I bought it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I had no intention of doing that when I found out I got a free copy.
Blew you away though, worth it.
Yeah, but it blew me away, and I was like, yes,
take my money, take my money,
take all the money.
Yep, take all the money.
Man, it's really tough sometimes because there is a bit of an age gap between myself and Gabe, and I tried to sit him down one time. He was can't remember if he was like staying over at my house or if we were just staying up super late or whatever.
We were just up.
But he I was like, you have to try Alan Wake if you've never tried Alan Wake. And so we got through the first like couple like missions and stuff, and Gabe was just like, it's not for me. And honestly, I was like, I get it. Like I understand why it's not.
It's kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
But that one trick is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're basically Stephen King shooting playing like it's like a Resident Evil 4 clone where you play as Stephen King and you're shooting shadow monsters while he's narrating the story and that was out of order, and you're like,
dude, and
it's like hinting at things that have yet to pass, and then like you see something happen and you're like, oh shit, that was in the manuscript, holy shit, like
and I think that was the coolest thing about it, is that in order to really appreciate Alan Wake, you have to make it to the end. Like you have to finish the game in order to fully appreciate everything that
I would agree
doing.
with that statement.
And yeah, it blew my mind with exactly what you're saying, like finding the pages and being like, oh, I'm gonna have to like experience this pretty soon, and then you come up on that scene, it's like, oh, this was in the page, and just the whole concept. And when I first played it, I was playing it with my buddy at the time, Colin, and he was really into Twin Peaks. And we were passing the controller back and forth, and he was I had never seen Twin Peaks, but he was telling me about all the references and stuff. And so it's just like a really nostalgic time in my life. And I think like that moment with my friend at the time, that was around the time that we became like really good friends. And so like that kind of moment, having that, like passing the controller back and forth,
they've become intrinsically linked in your mind.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that Alan Wake is very nostalgic for me. And I'll say I am worried isn't the right word. I'm a little apprehensive with how much they're changing what they're doing. Like now it's like directly over the shoulder, very Resident Evil. I'm not even sure if the flashlight like hurts the enemies anymore.
It does actually.
Does it? Okay.
The very little combat they've showed her shining a light on him until
and then
it works the same way basically.
And that's the other thing, is they're introducing this new character, Saga, and I'm just kind of like, I don't really want that. Like I want to play as Alan Wake. Like I don't know. I know obviously there's story reasons why Alan Wake is where he is, but at the same time,
you do play as both characters. They have confirmed that.
I know that you play as both of them. but at some point,
Spencer wants only Alan Wake.
Yes,
Just
exactly. I don't know. They're gonna make you switch between them and stuff, and
I think that leaves them a lot of leeway to do some really interesting stuff narratively.
Yeah.
And I think when that stuff starts to really, like, when they start to take advantage of that and you see how they're using it, albeit knowing that they could just easily fuck that stuff up, I don't know.
Sure.
But I have a lot of faith in Remedy.
Yeah.
I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think they will pretty quickly sell people on the concept when you kind of see how they're playing off of each other as characters.
Right.
But yeah, only time will tell.
Sure.
But man, I'm just excited to see. I mean, because this is not the sequel I was expecting.
Yeah.
There's been rumors of Alan Wake 2 for a long time. They said they've gone back to the drawing board on it like several times. And the fact that this iteration is what they landed on, and they're using words like survival horror and mind palace again sticks out to my like.
Yeah, that's a fucking crazy word, dude.
Yeah, like
what is a mind palace? Holy crap.
It's like Saga is a detective, right? So she's there to solve a murder case in Bright Falls, and she is. So if you've seen, I guess the easiest way to explain it would be like if you've seen Sherlock or something, where like he goes into his mind and he has like all the clues are like
for sure
they're all around him and he's like manipulated, but it's all happening in his head.
Yeah.
So like she has like this room that you go into in the game where all the clues and stuff are kind of are like
that's
and
cool.
you can like move stuff around and like try and piece together the mystery and figure out clues and stuff, but it's all happening in your head.
And knowing Remedy, there's a narrative reason for that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's
like,
good. They're using all the right words for me.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. That's like probably my most anticipated game of the year, to be honest. At this point.
Yeah. I want to jump to real quick. What kind of a switch of topics here. What is a shelved game franchise?
Silent Hill.
That you'd like to see another entry in. Silent Hill.
It's probably
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of happening already, so maybe that's not a great answer. But sorry, continue the question. I was just trying to be.
You're a cook on the draw, dude. You got it.
Yeah, exactly. So what is a shelved game franchise? Like a franchise that hasn't had a game in quite a while. There's no rumors about a new game being made. That you want to see another entry in.
It's something I talk about on our podcast like 1,000 times. Like it's like almost every show we find a Dino Crisis from Capcom.
Oh, okay.
Which like Resident Evil with dinosaurs. It seems like a no-brainer, especially with Resident Evil. We're in the middle of the Resident Evil renaissance. Everybody loves Capcom. Capcom can do no wrong. It seems like a no-brainer. And then Onimusha, also Capcom.
Yeah.
Which was like Resident Evil in feudal Japan. Both of those franchises I loved dearly, but there hasn't been a new entry in forever, and I would love to see them take a break from making all these admittedly great Resident Evil games and make something from one of those other franchises.
Yeah.
Those would be incredible. I think that's been my go-to answer for like 8 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's great.
I'm looking at my shelf and like seeing if anything else pops into mind, but
is there any old games that aren't being made anymore that you'd like to see more of?
I don't think so. I think when I was, I think most of those older like Capcom, like I remember playing Turok.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. Yep.
No, you're good.
Like Stupid Human Trick. I do this on my own podcast, but I always get shit for it. But like I remember the ultimate cheat code for the original Turok.
What is it?
It's stupid. It's NTH, GTH, DGD, CRT, DTRK.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
That is the ultimate cheat code. Get you everything.
Wow.
That's cool.
Okay. Nice.
I remember.
File that in your mind.
That's right. That's right. You'll know. But I remember playing Turok. Everything else, I think, my earliest memories of really playing video games, are like
Halo and stuff.
Halo and Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare 2 and games like that. So
those are pretty great games still.
Yep, they're great games, but the franchise has never stopped. So
right.
Yeah.
You would think that
Turok's a good answer too.
Yeah, Turok's a great answer.
I love playing Turok. Yeah.
You would think that would be a slam dunk. Like
they've tried several times and it hasn't really been. I mean, they made Turok for the 360. It's not great. And then before that they made Turok Evolution for the GameCube. Also not great.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of gave it up.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But
What company did that? What
that was Acclaim, actually.
Acclaim. Wow.
Which
That's an
used to
old
be
name.
which used to be in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Right here.
Cool.
Has Acclaim been bought by anybody? Are they something else
I
now?
don't think they exist anymore. I don't remember the
Okay.
exact reason why or what. That team effectively hasn't existed in a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they made a new Turok, it would be pretty much in name only. It would be a new
Right.
team,
Okay.
a new idea.
Right.
But I mean, I'm fine with that. But
Yeah.
it is a dormant franchise that I would love to see more of.
Yeah. That's a great answer. For me, Eidos Montreal. I want you to look at me. Look at me in the eyes.
I'm looking.
You about to say Deus Ex?
I need a new Deus Ex game. I need a new Deus Ex game. Deus Ex.
Mankind Divided.
Humankind Divided.
Human Revolution. Is that
Human Revolution was the first? Mankind Divided is the newest one.
Yeah.
That is my second or third favorite game of all time.
It's a good game. Yeah.
I love that game. I've tried to get Gabe to play it many times. I'm not bitter about it, but
lies. Lies is right.
Deus Ex, dude. I could play that game. I could just loop that game forever and find something new every time. Like that. There is so many different things that you could do in that game that play out in such drastically different ways. And I'm sure there's other games that do it at an even greater scale. But dude, Deus Ex, it's the same reason why I love Dishonored.
Have you gone back and tried playing the original Deus Ex? I mean, it's kind of dated, but it's still beloved.
Yeah, the Human Revolution or whatever.
No, like the original Deus Ex.
Oh no, I haven't.
Oh.
I've never played those.
I mean,
you've never played the other ones?
I've played Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, but not like the old.
Dude, I kind of feel like if that's your favorite second or whatever game of all time, you should fucking play the first one, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
Especially if you're like jonesing for a new one and you're tired of waiting. I mean
they've got to be like way outdated though, right?
I mean, they're very playable and they're still very beloved, but you would have to be comfortable with a certain amount of
jank.
Okay, I'm playing a game that was made in the early 2000s.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's still a very, very, very well loved game, and you can see the groundwork for Human Revolution being laid in that game. So absolutely, I would recommend it. Deus Ex was part of that Embracer group. I don't know if you follow the Embracer group acquisition and like they picked up all that stuff. Deus Ex is one of the franchises that was picked up by that and is now owned by the Embracer group, which I think they have intentions of doing stuff with, but
I hope so.
There's also been a lot of stuff with the Embracer group lately that has not been great news. Like
and see the reason I've been worried about it is because I've heard that Mankind Divided did not review well. It reviewed well.
It did not sell well.
Okay, did not sell well.
I think it scored in like mid 80s or which is respectable. But some studios look at anything less than a 90 as bad, which is also weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't heard any rumors of a new Deus Ex or anything like that. And so I would give my left nut for a new Deus Ex.
Okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah,
but,
you don't want to be missing one of those.
I love that game. I love that game so much.
That's a great. I think we would all be happy if they announced a new Deus Ex.
Yeah.
But it was definitely up there. It was mentioned in kind of the same sentence as Tomb Raider. I was like, it was like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex were both acquired by Embracer Group, and there's a new Tomb Raider in development. And I think the assumption is that there's probably a Deus Ex also in development, but we just don't know for sure
that would be so awesome. And to be honest, like that's what I was hoping that Cyberpunk, like I was so excited for Cyberpunk, being a massive Deus Ex fan. I was just like, oh, it's gonna be more Deus Ex, and Cyberpunk came out, and I don't know if I've ever been
it was a mess.
Disappointed with a video game. Not only not only the bugs and all of the stuff that wasn't there at launch, but like fundamentally that game was a different game than what we were told.
It's the only game to this day I've ever pre-ordered. I pre-ordered it on Amazon, got it, played it for 10 hours, and returned it.
I returned mine
I
as well.
didn't trade it in.
Yeah.
I returned it. I didn't even know you could do that on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, Sony,
I returned a disc that I had used for 10 hours to Amazon and got a full refund.
Yeah, Sony and all these other companies, that's the only time I've ever seen it where they were like, yeah, just return
They're like,
it.
this game's fucking terrible
They're like,
right
just
now.
like, we understand, just give it back.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: if you have not gone back to it since that whole debacle, it has become a much better game. It is now.
Here's the thing, and I understand that, and I see people saying that a lot, but like the things that I found to be wrong with it couldn't be fixed in a patch. Like, it's not something that could be like patched. Like, fundamentally, that game is different.
I will say this: I'm not speaking from experience because I have not gone back and played it, but I've talked to a lot of people who have since played through the whole thing since they've made all these changes, and I've heard a lot of people tell me it feels like an entirely different game now.
Really? Okay.
Like, they didn't just fix the bugs; they they changed the way entire systems in that game work.
Wow. Okay.
So, and if you look at like Steam reviews, it has clawed its way back from like what was it? Like, overwhelmingly negative to it is now up to, I think, very positive status, which is very impressive.
Have they added more like side missions and stuff? Because that's, I think,
I don't know. I couldn't speak to that. I'm going to play it eventually again when I get past all these new games.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing that I was kind of upset with, is they sold it as this game where it is an entire city full of life and full of things for you to explore. And when I got in there, I went through the main story, and then there was like maybe like 5 interesting side missions. And the rest were just kind of like, go to this place and collect this item and then come back and
that's what Final Fantasy 16 is that I'm just absolutely hate.
Yeah.
But again, I can't speak to that. I all I know is that people are telling me that if you didn't like it before, you should give it a second chance, because it is now what it should have been at launch.
Yeah.
And you know, we can never let them forget that. But
yeah.
you know, it is a better game now from what I hear. Okay. And apparently that new DLC looks pretty cool. Okay. Or not DLC, it's an expansion. It's a full-blown, like, you know, $40 expansion. Looks pretty crazy with Idris Elba.
Yeah,
that's right. I did see that.
I'm interested to wait for reviews and see what people say, because the only thing I've seen about it is they added a new area.
That is the new rule now with CD Projekt Red.
Dude.
CD Projekt Red is no longer a day one purchase by default.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Did you ever play Biomutant? The one about the little dude. That was also a cyberpunk situation. Yes. I bought that day one. That was the game. Literally, that was the game that turned me into the cynical, like, I am never buying day one ever again kind of guy.
That is the game I went to. I think the last E3 2019. I played Biomutant. We gave booth awards out every year, so we'd go around, we'd play a bunch of games, then we'd go present the people at the booth with, like, you know, here's our little placard, your game of the show or whatever, and they'd stick it up on their wall. And Biomutant was the game that I picked, because we each pick one. And Biomutant was my favorite game that I played at E3 that year.
Wow.
And then when the game came out, I was like, this is a janky mess. What the fuck?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Dude,
I felt pretty burned by that.
I would have too, yeah.
Dude, it was brutal. I don't know if Gabe remembers this, but it was...
Dude, I remember you watching you play it, and you were just fucking steaming and how much this fucking upset you.
Yeah.
All this shit was just dumb and everything was not working as it should. I vividly remember that.
Okay, yeah, because I remember
that is a game that was not improved much post-release either, which is super sucky.
And like, I remember sitting down with Gabe and we were watching, before it released, we were watching like YouTube videos of people like
looks so
extremely overhyping this game. Like, there's all these systems and there's all these things and you get in there and it's like the most bare bones RPG, and there's no voice acting. There's no the graphics.
That was the worst part.
Yeah,
dude, that was the worst. And like taking over watching the YouTube videos beforehand, it made it look like, you know, it was kind of the Ubisoft thing of there's all these different bandit camps and you can take down the bandit camps and fight and do that kind of stuff. But then when you get into the game, it is a instanced thing So you go up to like the bandit camp and you walk through a door. There's a loading screen, and then you're inside this instanced arena basically, and it's kind of just waves of enemies that are coming out, and you're fighting them.
Yeah.
And then when you finish it, it goes da 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 da, and it like gives you like a score and like shows you what items you got, and then it kicks you out of that area. I'm like, dude, this is like some N64 shit. Like that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That studio,
so
for all I think they had a cool idea. They did not have the budget or the
it's such a good idea. It's such a good idea.
I think that's a shame. That game could have been handled much better by a different studio with more money. I don't know. It's a shame. It's sad.
Yeah.
Nick, I have a quick question for you. Have you ever played any of the Dark Pictures anthology games?
Yes, I played Until Dawn, which is not technically, I guess, part of that. I played Man of Medan.
Yep.
I didn't like that one very much. I played The Quarry, which again, also technically, I don't think is part of the Dark Pictures anthology.
Kind of
same company,
but the stories don't relate.
Yeah. And I played a little bit of the one that's basically Silent Hill. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
House of Ashes. Little Hope.
Dude,
yeah.
Little Hope was awesome.
Yeah.
Little Hope, I think, is probably the one I had the best chance of like hooking me, and I was enjoying it, but again, it's just got distracted.
If you haven't finished it, seriously, you should.
It's still in my Steam library. I can go back.
Right,
I mean, at this point, I'll probably have to start it over at this point.
22 other games.
I know.
First, you know.
Oh my god, it's so sad.
But Gabe and I played Until Dawn, and there was a few in the middle we
played.
Man
of Medan, we played the.
I mean, we've played all of them, but there was a couple in the middle that I was like, yeah, these are okay. This one's kind of good.
I heard good things about the one that's in like the cave with like the soldiers.
Yeah,
I did not like that one.
Did not like that one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot actually. It's kind of a cool.
And then there's a new one. I don't know if is the new one out. The one that's like a serial killer or something. I don't.
Oh no, I don't think that's out yet.
Wait, no. So are you talking about the one about the hotel, the guy that murdered people? Remember we played that together, Spencer.
Oh, was that not?
It was the devil in me.
The devil in me.
Right.
Yes,
that is out. Okay,
So that one's out.
That one was good.
Yeah, that one was good. We never finished it. But I had a lot of fun. That was probably the most, fun one to play. Like getting scared wise. It was very kind of intimidating.
I would definitely say my favorites were Until Dawn, Little Hope, and then the Devil Inside Me. Is that what it's called?
I think it's just Devil in Me.
Devil in Me.
I could be wrong though.
So The Quarry was fun. So it's funny. I had kind of like opposite experiences. So like Until Dawn, I adored.
Yeah.
But I also got to the end of that game without losing anybody, and then there's that the cabin sequence at the end, and I got everybody out of the cabin alive. And I talked to like we're talking about it on the show. It was like pure luck. Yeah. Everybody else in the show, like everybody fucking died. Just,
dude,
like,
that's how it was for us.
Bad decision after bad decision. Everybody fucking died, and I was like, "What are y'all talking about? I got everybody out alive." And then I played The Quarry.
Yeah.
And I got to the end. And it's the same kind of they put you in a kind of a similar situation, and I was like, I think I'm making the right choice. I made a choice, and everybody fucking died.
Yeah.
And I was like, so this is how that feels.
That's right. This is the feeling of utter failure.
It's hard too, because if I remember correctly, there's not like you can't load a previous save, right? Like you can't.
Yeah, you have to kind of live with your decisions.
No, yeah, you got to live with it unless you want to start over.
Yeah, that's tough.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
but I liked The Quarry. It was just I got to the very end, I was feeling all confident with myself, and I was like, fuck. The moment I made the decision too, I was like, I think I just fucked up.
Like, that was a bad one.
Dude, that's the worst. There's been a couple times where Gabe and I have we've mostly played them in person in the same room.
Right.
And we'll sit there and we will discuss a decision together and be like, should we do this? And we'll come to a conclusion. And then we do it, and we just look at each other like,
you're like, God damn it. Dude,
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how it's going to play out.
We either got really lucky or it was just as I feared.
Yeah.
It's just real quick recommendation. If y'all, so as a co-op, if you like playing co-op games together,
we do. We're always looking for new co-op games.
So I will say this is a record. I think this is like the best co-op experience I've ever had.
Okay.
I think it's kind of meant to be shared with like a significant other, but I don't think it matters.
It Takes Two?
Oh, It Takes Two?
It Takes Two.
Yeah,
Okay,
we were playing that
we
for a
played
while.
it. Yep.
That game is so good.
Oh, it's
my
awesome.
God.
We need to finish
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
We do. We
It is
never
like-
finished it.
It's honestly neither have I, but that's because it's getting my wife to like focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus
Or,
Elden
you
Ring
know,
or something else.
I mean, we both loved it, but like
yeah,
we're playing separate things.
for sure.
But every second of playing that is just, I was like, oh my God, this is like
It's
Mario levels
amazing.
of brilliant in
Yeah,
terms
it's
of like
amazing.
finding new mechanics and stuff. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to make it. I was like, if you hadn't played that and you like
Yeah.
playing co-op
No.
games, clearly that's
Yeah,
one
for
of them.
sure.
I mean,
It's incredible.
if you know of any other like co-op games, like
I haven't never
definitely
been like the biggest co-op person. So
Sure.
that's why I was kind of surprised that one
hooked
stuck
you.
with me so well.
Yeah.
In fact, that was like my number 2 game of the year that year, and I was like I can't believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
This is a game that needs to be played co-op. I almost play everything by myself.
Yep.
But this is without a doubt one of the best experiences of the year. It's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, It Takes Two.
Nice.
Highly recommend.
Good stuff.
So the final kind of topic that I have for us here is Game Pass good for gaming? And what I mean by this is I watched a YouTube video that really made me think a lot about what Game Pass is doing in like the grand scale of things. Because I think it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm subscribed to Game Pass and I get all these free games and it's great for the consumer. But on the flip side of that, what this YouTube video I was watching, they likened it to Netflix, where at first Netflix was this subscription service that you pay for, and all of these shows like Parks and Recreation, The Office, like all these like big name shows, they were all on there and you could watch them all on one app, and you didn't really have to pay for cable or buy at the time like the individual like DVD sets
Right.
and all that stuff. But if you look at Netflix now, and I don't really know how you feel about Netflix, Nick, but in my opinion, it's largely a kind of a pile of garbage. Like there's a lot of just like shovelware that's kind of getting pushed out that's not like super high quality content.
You have to dig for the really good stuff.
Yeah.
From Netflix. There is good stuff, but you
There
really got to
is.
dig for it.
Yeah. And so the point that this guy brought up was that Game Pass could become this thing, because you're hearing this term like with Exoprimal, that game that just came out
Mhm.
recently. It's a great game for Game Pass, which means it's not a good game to pay $70 for.
Right.
But if you're getting it free on Game Pass, yeah, I'll give it a try. So what the guy in the video was saying was that Game Pass could become this thing where it encourages developers to just kind of make these, get a quick buck kind of games that don't really have a long shelf life. And if that becomes the new normal of like, oh, like every developer is wanting to get their game on Game Pass, it kind of infects the whole industry into like developing games for that purpose, and maybe they're not the
Right.
most high quality things.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there.
Sure.
I was to say that was way deeper than I thought you were going to go with it.
Yeah, I'll try and keep this pretty brief, I suppose. But I mean, like, one, I think Game Pass is a thing that it's very hard to see like the forest
Through the trees.
Through the tree. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say, I guess. Because I think Game Pass is the kind of thing that's going to evolve over time. Like, there's no right now. It's very much we're in the honeymoon period with Game Pass, and it's ridiculous that we can get things like Starfield,
yeah. Dude. Already downloaded
and
free.
Hi-Fi
Not
Rush.
free. I mean, I pay a month,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I played Atomic Heart on
yeah, I
on
just saw
Game
that
Pass.
too, dude.
That's one of my I may be a little bit in the minority there. I adored that game, and I played it for free on Game Pass.
What is it?
Yeah.
Heart?
That's gonna be
Atomic Heart.
Atomic Heart. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically like a kind of a
Oh,
love
he's
letter to
played it.
BioShock.
He's played it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful on my PC, but it's just really hard. I got
Yeah.
to a certain point and I'm like, I can't, like I'm not good enough.
Gotcha. I do recommend keep going with
Okay.
that game. It's pretty good, but I don't think this honeymoon period is going to last. Like, I don't think in 2 years we're going to be seeing games of the on the level of Starfield being day one on Game Pass.
Right.
I also, it is Microsoft's kind of, whatever game is made, Microsoft has to see the value in it before it goes on Game Pass, right? So like,
do they?
I mean,
I think
there's already a lot of shitty games on Game Pass though.
well, yeah, but there's shitty games on Steam. There's shitty games on everything,
there's
on every
probably
platform.
way more shitty games on Steam than there is on Game Pass.
Yeah.
But like, every single one of these developers has to be. This is me. I don't know all the specifics of how these business arrangements work.
Sure.
But as I understand it, like all these developers have to sign like into contracts for these games, and like they are being paid a lump sum for putting their game on the service. So it kind of guarantees them that, whether it's successful or not, it's going to make them money. But on the flip side of that, they have to convince Microsoft to shell out that money to put it on their service. So,
well, and then they can still sell it for a price on Steam or whatever else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like in the case of Exoprimal, maybe that was like the only way that game was ever going to find the kind of success that it was going for. Same thing with Hi-Fi Rush. They shadow dropped that game. If you shadow drop a game and then ask $50 for it,
yeah,
I don't think it. But like the fact that it was shadow dropped and on Game Pass, suddenly everybody was playing it. Everybody was talking about it, and in like less than 6 hours, it was suddenly the most talked about game in the industry.
Wow.
So like, there's definitely value in using the service, but it's going to evolve over time. I think people right now are just kind of have their blinders on because like it is very good for the consumer, but I don't think that's going to last, at least not on the level that it's at right now. So if Starfield came out in 2 years, I'm pretty sure we'd be paying $70 for it.
Right.
Or more.
But there's also a world in which games get like a second life on Game Pass, where it's like for the first year it's full price, and then as the sales like dwindle, throw it on Game Pass, and all of a sudden it gets a second wave. This day one Game Pass thing is just a way of competing, and Microsoft's been looking for a way of competing. They've been talking a lot. They've been saying a lot of stuff lately that's like, we know we lost the console war. They're like, I think they're starting to come to terms with the fact that they're no longer, they're not really competing the same way they used to with Sony or Nintendo. And if they come to that realization and accept it, I think we're going to start to see the ripple effect of that on Game Pass. Like they're going to be like, okay, we don't need to be like going as hard as we are on Game Pass, because all we're doing is kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by closing off this
revenue
profit
stream.
opportunity. It's revenue stream. So I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like I don't know. Is it good for gaming? Who the fuck knows right now? It certainly feels good for us.
That's right. I say I love Game Pass, man. I freaking love.
I'm gonna enjoy the shit out of it until
that's right. I tell you what,
until they ruin it.
And I'm pretty sure, like, if I download Starfield and keep it downloaded, even when they take it off, I still have Starfield for free.
Exactly, which means it never leaves my computer.
Never leaves my computer.
You can't have it.
Yeah.
So if you download something from Game Pass and then they take it off Game Pass,
they take it off, have it? As long as it's still downloaded onto your hard drive, it's yours forever.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
But that means you got to keep 150 gigabytes.
That's right.
Exactly.
You have to. That's when you just get like a 2 terabyte external and just start moving all your Game Pass shit over there. You're like, I'm not paying $80 for that.
We don't need discs. We don't buckets full of USB drives now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a complex question, but it's an interesting question.
Okay. I like your answer a lot. It's given me a lot to think about for sure. All right. Well, on the way out of here, I did before we leave, I did have some grievances I wanted to air.
Yes. How does this work? I don't.
Yeah. So
you just have to wait and see, man. I don't even know how this works.
Cool.
Yeah, you'll see. So one of my grievances that I won't belabor, I'm just gonna say what it is real quick, is that Nintendo, they need to make a remaster for Ocarina of Time, or like a remake, like an actual, like a full on, like, can you imagine how much fucking money they would make day one?
They're making so much more right now off of the fucking Tears of the Kingdom,
but
Breath of the
dude,
Wild. That's all the money they need for now. In a couple years, when that dies down, maybe. But
yeah,
you know what they need to do? They just need to put They need to take the version that they released on the 3DS, which was amazing. Put that on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like upscale a little bit. Put it on the Switch.
For $20. Boom.
Take that Wind Waker HD collection they put on the Wii U,
dude.
which was an amazing port of that game. Put that on the Wii on the Switch, and put Twilight Princess on the fucking Switch, because all those games are trapped on platforms I don't have anymore.
For sure, that are extinct almost.
Yeah.
Like it's just buckets of money waiting for them. And
I don't need like a full blown remake. I don't think of any of those games. Just make them available.
Playable on the Switch.
I think for me, like, I don't get me wrong, I will play Ocarina of Time in any format that it's in. But
by the way, that was my game. That was my favorite game of all time until I played Red Dead Redemption 2, and now that is my favorite game of all time.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is the shit.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time definitely makes it into my top 5 of all time. It's such a special game, but
it's an oldie but a goodie.
I'm just like, dude, how are you guys just letting this money just sit? Like, oh god, I feel like every guy like my age or your age, Nick, like we would buy that so fast.
I would buy it in a heartbeat, but let me tell you,
I would buy a Switch to play that.
You should buy a Switch to play Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
and then you'll be like,
I know,
okay.
But Ocarina of Time.
You're like, oh wow, Ocarina of Time's cool and nostalgic, but it doesn't come close to this.
It ain't this. Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, I'm telling you, I swear to you, dude. I swear to you.
Ocarina of Time is a perfect story. Like it is a perfect 3-act structure.
But just tell me that you have no bias because you played it when you were younger.
I'm not going to say I don't have a bias, but I'm just saying whether I have a bias or not, you can still take a step back from that game and be like, yeah, that's a damn
I will say this.
Game.
I think Ocarina of Time is damn near a perfect video game. It is. I think it still has the best dungeons. It has kind of the most. I mean, the world pales in comparison to kind of what they make these days, but it had the most personality, and it had amazing music. It was just. I remember that game from start to finish. I used to play that game almost on a weekly basis. I love that game.
Yeah.
But
here we go.
Let me tell you about Tears of the Kingdom. That game is.
Please tell him. Just enlighten him, bro. He needs it.
Game is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. It's fucking crazy.
That's all he needs to say.
You should really play it.
I want to play it. You guys are acting like I don't.
Bro, you just bought you can go buy a Switch tomorrow. I know you have the fucking money to do it.
You want to be real? You want to be real? I didn't say this, but there are ways to play that game on PC.
Also, it says right here that you can play the Ocarina of Time on Switch. By the way,
what's that?
You can play the Ocarina of Time on Switch.
You can, but you can buy it on the store. I've always been kind of for games that I truly love. I want a physical.
Copy.
Thing. Yeah, and that's just me being dumb. I'm also. Sure. Well, I'm sorry. I'm hijacking your grievances. You keep going. I'll bring them.
Okay, so then my last grievance, and Nick, I need you to help me out here, because this is a discussion that's been happening for a while, and after this I'm gonna let it drop. I'm gonna let it go. But
shit, all right.
I need a third party to tell me if I am in fact the asshole. And if I'm the asshole, then that's totally fine. I will totally accept that. But I just need somebody else to tell me that I am. Okay. So
you're the asshole.
Thank you.
Sorry.
What I was waiting for.
So my wonderful best friend and co-host Gabe, he does this thing where he will buy a brand new $70 game and he will play it for 2 hours and then he will drop it. And he will do this over and over and over and over to where he never completes the game. There's been a few that he has.
Yeah, what he's gonna fail to tell you is that I have those games and I do in fact go back and play them.
Hey, I have a copy of Street Fighter 6 sitting right inside this door here that I paid full price for on day one. Haven't opened it. It's still in the plastic wrap.
What Spencer's mad about is Harry Potter. I bought Harry Potter.
Well, not just that,
price.
but like Deathloop, Dishonored 2, Last of Us 2.
What are you talking about Dishonored 2, dude?
You never played Dishonored 2?
Yes, I did.
You played the first Dishonored.
No, I played Dishonored 2 as well, dude.
You did
I
not
never beat it. I didn't beat it. Yeah, but I played the shit out of it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, you freaking completion.
So, okay. Well, yeah, you have to complete the story. That's the point. At least
I had a
Hey.
lot of fun with it, dude. You know, it
Hey,
just wasn't...
I am on a podcast full of people who would tell me that like if I played a game for 6 hours and enjoyed my 6 hours with it and then never touched it again, that time was worth it.
Oof.
I am the kind of person who likes to complete as many games as humanly possible.
Yeah.
I do not like putting games down. But I have also tried to make myself become more comfortable with the idea of putting a game down if I'm just not enjoying it.
Yeah.
See, he's got my back, dude.
Here's where this started though. So Diablo 4 was releasing, and Gabe was like, I'm gonna buy like the deluxe edition and all this stuff. He's like, you gotta buy it too so we can play it. And I'm like, okay. And
No,
so
I fucking bought it for you.
Well, that's right.
Oh!
Yeah. You bought Diablo.
Yeah, I bought it for you.
But then the day comes when it released, like we pre-ordered it and everything. The day comes and we have never ever played it.
Dude, I've been playing it. We've been stuck on Borderlands. We've been stuck on Borderlands for the last like 4 months, which is fine. I love Borderlands. But I have the game. I've been playing it. I'm like level 18. So get your ass on the Diablo 4.
Where's the question in this? The
question is if I guess like I don't know. I personally could not fathom spending like even $30 on a game and only giving it a couple hours. And so am I the asshole thinking that?
How okay. Do you know how many games I've bought on Steam that I have never touched? Probably in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
I have every intention.
Bro, you're gonna learn.
Because I do not buy a game until I'm ready to play it.
I have every intention of playing all of those games.
Yep, me too.
But no, dude, I like if a game goes on sale and it's like more than like 20% off, and I'm not like, obviously if I'm not like in a situation where I'm strapped for cash, if I'm I'm liquid
you have enough
right
money
now,
to spend on a game,
right?
Fuck yeah, add it to the pile. I just bought. Steam just did also when Steam does these like summer sales or whatever.
Yeah.
I go through here and I'm like, I have no time to play any of this stuff. But let's see where the deals are at. And I add like 6 things to my cart, and I'm just like, fuck it, spend 120 bucks.
Yeah, get it all.
Add it to the pile. I have it now. Like, I don't have to worry about it later. I have it.
I think Spencer's gripe is the full price thing. He's paying full price for a game and then
I'm trying to get better at that. Like $70, if I'm gonna spend $70, I better be pretty set on playing it pretty quick. Street Fighter was a little bit strange because
was that on the Switch too?
No, I think it's just
on PlayStation?
PS5 and Xbox and PC, I think.
Gotcha.
But I picked it up and I had every intention of playing it at launch, but we are also in the midst of the year of our Lord 2023, where everything is just compounding. And even though I thought I was going to have time to play it, it came out like right around Zelda time. And I just wasn't, I made the wrong call. I picked up Diablo 4 and I've played about 10 hours of it and I haven't touched it since. Not that I wasn't enjoying it really. But
that's what I'm saying, dude. I love playing Diablo 4. I just fucking haven't played it.
There's too fucking much. But yeah, dude, there's something, and they count on this. There's something really addictive about loading up your Steam cart and just
dude,
being like, oh man, this game looks awesome. When I finally get around to playing it, it's gonna be awesome.
And then you never play it.
And I never play it.
So true.
Oh
dude.
my god.
So true. It's like that little dopamine hit. You're just like, hit buy.
They released Fatal Frame 4 on Steam this year. It's the only
that the
Fatal
one where
Frame...
you have a camera?
Yeah, it's the only one I've never played, and because it never came to America, and they didn't like dub it, but they released it. You can actually buy it now.
Yeah,
okay.
In America, and
you just don't know what's going on.
And it was on sale for like 30% off. It's like $40 or something. So it was like, I don't know, $32. I was just, you know what? I want this game. I'm gonna play this game.
Why not?
Fuck it. And this is how I'm gonna make myself play it. I'm gonna put it in my cart. I'm gonna buy it.
Dude.
And then all of a sudden there were 3. And then all of a sudden there were 3 other games in the cart with it.
And you only played 1 out of the 4 games.
I haven't touched any of them.
Played any of them.
Dude.
In fact, I can't even remember what they were.
I would say, dude, I've had Steam.
I'm opening up Steam right now.
I've had Steam since me too. I've had Steam since like 2012 or whatever. And I've got I've got 197 games.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm if this number is to be believed, I have 212.
Fuck.
Let me tell you, I have not played 212 games.
Me neither, dude.
So I bought Fatal Frame 4, Octopath Traveler 2, which I do intend on playing this year because I hear it's amazing.
Sure
Baldur's Gate 3, which I wasn't intending on buying until it was out, but they said if you buy it while it's in early access, you get the deluxe edition for free. And I was like, fuck it.
You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, so I picked up all that and
Nice.
Gravity Circuit, and I was just like,
boom.
Fuck it. I'm not gonna. I don't know when I'm gonna play Octopath Traveler. I don't know when I'm gonna play Fatal Frame 4.
But it's there for when I'm
ready.
ready.
But it's there. I can play whenever the fuck I want.
That's right. Thank
Man.
you. It's right there, ready for me. Wow.
Dude,
man.
I'm like apprehensive of like downloading stuff from Xbox Game Pass if I don't think that I'm gonna play it immediately.
Dude, you know,
Bro,
there's something so satisfying about just
something
scrolling through your Steam library and
you gotta,
being like,
it is, dude, because like I've only got like, I've maybe got 5 Steam games downloaded, and like on an off day, I'll just scroll through and I'll be like, oh fuck, okay, that one, download that right now, let's play it.
Square Enix did this like sale a long time ago. They released their entire back catalog of games that were available on Steam. Sorry, it was Eidos Montreal, not Square.
Yeah.
It was Square Enix in partnership with Eidos Montreal.
Yep.
Their entire back catalog, which was like 40, 50 games, something like that. All the Deus Ex games, all the Tomb Raider games, Dungeon Siege, just a bunch of
Dude,
shit.
remember
Stuff
Dungeon Siege? Holy shit.
I don't. I mean, I have no intention. I have no intention of playing that game. But it's in my library now. I can play whenever I want because I bought the whole thing. It was like $5. You get everything. That included
40 games. Boom.
That included Mankind Divided,
sick.
Human Revolution, every Tomb Raider game
They
ever
got a sale
released
right
on
now,
PC.
90% off. 90% off. All the Lego games. 90% off.
Dude, fuck you guys.
Don't get me
single
started.
You guys are
Every single
digital
one, dude.
hoarders.
Every single one is 90% off. Actually, that's not true, but they're close.
Also, like
God.
sometimes people gift me games for fun. So I actually have like you'll be like scrolling through my my Steam library. And I'm trying to find it here. Some people gift me random shit. So like I have a game in my library called Scientifically Accurate Dinosaur Mating Simulator 2021.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That's awesome. I love it, dude.
I don't know if I'm gonna play it, but it's in there.
Right.
In case
It's there.
Oh
It's
my
ready,
God.
dude.
the urge
It's
strikes
ready.
me.
Have you played Ori and the Will of the Wisps?
Yes, amazing
That's an
game.
awesome game, dude. Amazing.
Hard as fuck sometimes, but very good.
I've enjoyed the shit out of it.
Oh man! So to answer your question, yes, you're the asshole.
Yeah, thank you.
And you
so
should
much,
start. You should start buying things without any intention of playing it. It's
No.
rewarding.
No, I
Yeah,
should
you should.
not.
You should start spending your money very irresponsibly.
Yeah, dude. Fuck the bank. Who cares?
Yeah,
Oh.
we're adults. We can do whatever the fuck. I own every Just Cause game. I'm never gonna play that. I have Kane and Lynch 1 and 2. I'm not gonna play those.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it so much.
It's crazy.
Oh, you're my new
Regardless-
favorite person, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My new favorite human.
Regardless, it is criminal that Gabe has not finished Dishonored 2 and Deathloop. Those are two of the best games of all time.
Dude, I like
They're pretty-
Dishonored
pretty-
way more than I like Deathloop.
I'm in the same camp. I did like
Okay.
Deathloop, but not nearly as much as Dishonored.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
which
I
is
like
all. Which is
Deathloop
like-
was like,
which is why I'm so sad about Redfall. Like, oh,
Yeah,
God.
Redfall is
Mm.
garbage. But what were you
So
saying about
sad.
Deathloop, Gabe?
no, I just like, I played it, I put probably, shit, well,
6
it's on my
hours into
PlayStation, so I don't know. Probably 6 hours, 7 hours, yeah. And I thought it was cool, but by the time like shit started resetting, I was like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Like, I don't quite understand why I'm doing this over again,
The co-op
Whereas,
stuff in
like,
the game was
Completely
pretty
missing
cool.
the point of the game.
Co-op would be fun. Like, I'd play it with you, dude. If you jump on, PlayStation, or we could get on PC, I'd play with you.
Well, I guess it's not technically co-op, is it?
Yeah,
It's
it's like I invade your game and try to kill you while
Invasion
you do your
stuff is really cool.
objectives, while you do,
Okay,
like-
I see,
like
I see. So
randos
it's not
trying-
like campaign co-op.
yeah,
campaign
it's like
co-op.
random people invading your game trying to stop you from accomplishing your objective,
Gotcha,
Right,
which is
yeah.
pretty neat.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, sorry, that was a very long tangent.
So-
okay, where are we going?
It's all
So, yeah,
that was
I mean,
fun. I'm glad we talked about.
We got to the core of the issue. Apparently,
You're the asshole.
I'm the
Yeah.
asshole. But at the same time, it's like Gabe finished at least finish Dishonored 2. My God.
How do you think I'm constantly in a state of being overwhelmed? It's because I've done this to myself.
Well, yeah, and Spencer fucking hounds me every time, dude. I get
Yeah.
stressed out. I'm like, fuck, he wants me to finish 4 games, dude. What do I do? Like, I want to play Borderlands. That's all I want to play is Borderlands, and he wants me to fucking play this other game. I'm like, why do I have to play this other game?
Yeah. I also have like 18 demos downloaded on my Steam thing right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't do enough. I feel like I should play some more demos, but
Yeah.
I don't have a single demo on my Steam.
Just go on there during when they do like Steam.
You have Lies of P, right? Lies of P demo?
I did
I
on my
have the Lies of
PlayStation,
P.
yeah. And
okay.
I did play that. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll actually play that game, but
Yeah. I think I played the demo. I got somewhat far. But I think that I'm gonna to actually play through the whole thing. I'm gonna wait for the game to release, and
I think I really
I'll
like
buy it
playing
day one and
games
play it.
like mouse and keyboard, like way more than I do controller. Like Call of Duty,
Mm.
I'm getting better at mouse and keyboard. That's kind of a finesse thing. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
games like Lies of P, like I haven't played that in mouse and keyboard, but I feel like I would like that more so than
It's so
controller.
wild to me. I couldn't imagine playing that game on.
Well,
on
I've
mouse
been
and keyboard.
I've been playing PC games since I was a kid, so it's like
Yeah.
that's you haven't.
Boom.
That's
Yeah.
that's why that's different, I think.
Yeah.
I downloaded the game BattleBit. Have you heard of that?
Everyone's
have
playing BattleBit
Dude,
right now. It's so
it's-
wild.
I got it this morning. It's so fucking fun, dude. I love it. I love it.
I gotta try it because people are really
Yeah,
loving
it's
it.
$14 on Steam,
Yeah.
which
Add it to the cart.
yeah, add it to the cart, man. I've like because I love playing shooters. Like I've got Modern Warfare, had the new Modern Warfare forever, and I love it. But I was like, I watched some streamers play it, and I was like, this is cool. And I was playing it. I'm like, dude, I'm having more fun playing this than I do Call of Duty.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we've resolved that,
That's about
that
it,
I'm
dude.
the
Yeah.
asshole.
Nick, thanks for hanging out for like 4 hours, dude.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
This is what I do. This
I
is
have
what
a
I
lot
do
of
every
fun,
Thursday.
man.
This is
Really-
no different
really-
than any other podcast
Yeah,
night
for
for
sure,
me.
for sure. That's cool. No, I had a lot of fun talking with you, dude.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I absolutely love talking to you, man. The times that you were on for Last of Us, and then getting to talk to you for so long tonight, this was awesome. I told Gabe before we before you hopped into the call, I was like, let me tell you, I'm like, Nick Henderson is an awesome person to talk to.
That's
and
exactly what he said. He's like, this dude is so cool.
I'm like, you'll understand exactly what I mean,
Yeah.
like when we get going. And I'm sure
Thank you.
that he's seen that. So
Yep.
I
absolutely.
always love chatting with you, man. You're a ton of fun, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Well,
here
thanks
as
for
many
having me,
times.
and thanks, Gabe, for being here, despite the fact that you feel like, oh my god, this trailer just started again. Stop it! Oh my god, BattleBit is fucking me up. Okay,
No,
sorry.
like you said,
Something
dude,
very
this
loud.
is worth it. I feel so much better about myself right now than I did
Oh,
a couple
okay.
hours
Yeah.
ago, dude.
Yeah,
I was
'Cause
like,
I settled the debate.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you settled the debate. I just wanted
Cool.
to crawl in bed and cry, and now I'm like, nah, I'm ready, dude. I'm ready. I feel
Justified.
sick as shit, but I'm ready,
Yeah.
Man, I want to go spend some money.
dude.
I'm
Me
just
too.
kidding. I
I'm
wanna
looking
play
on
as-
Steam right now, and
Fuck
I'm
you
like, holy
guys.
shit, dude.
Just give into the dark side, man.
I'm trying
Fill
to
your-
like right now.
I
I'm
have,
thinking
like-
because
I have
I
like
think
10 games bought on my Steam, and I've
me and
played every
Spencer-
single one of them.
me and Spencer
10?
are gonna play some games tonight. That was the plan. We're gonna
Yeah.
game a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like looking, I'm like, fuck Borderlands, dude. I'm ready to play something else. Let's
Call
play
of
some
Duty or
Steam games,
something?
dude.
Yeah.
No, some Steam games.
Oh, okay.
Let's get some new shit on PC because I
You
want to play on
have-
PC.
How quickly can we download it?
Well, I got a bunch of shit downloaded. I don't know about you, but I got a
yeah,
ton
Gabe's
of shit
good to go.
downloaded.
You, on the other hand, my god,
How fast is
10
your
games?
internet,
I
dude?
I need to buy it. I need to download it.
No, we could find something, or
Yeah.
I'll just play PlayStation, whatever. Have you
Right.
ever played Phasmophobia, Nick?
Yes, we did a game night with that.
Okay.
It was very fun.
Because I've
Have you
got
seen-
I've got probably the most hours in Phasmophobia over any other Steam game, I think.
Damn,
Dude,
that's a fun community game
I
to
love,
play.
yes, playing it with a couple of friends is so much fun.
So I can't play that game because I'm a big scaredy boy.
He's a
But
pussy.
have you seen the same company made a game that is you're a thief and your job
Yeah, you're home burglar, and
Yeah,
it's like
and
set up the same as Phasmophobia.
it's the exact same thing as Phasmophobia, but you instead of going into houses and finding the ghost or whatever.
You're going into houses and stealing their shit and trying to leave with it.
Yeah, and you're trying to leave.
Oh.
Yeah,
like,
it looks
you-
pretty
you-
cool. I
can
would play
take-
that tonight. Like I would play
Yeah.
that tonight, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
He's dropping hints.
Yeah,
That's right.
You
You buy
you
it
play
right
that
now.
tonight.
I think the thing that's cool about it is you can take whatever you want, but you also have to be able to get away with it. You don't just have like a van that you can throw
So
everything
you start
in.
with this bike with a little basket. So whatever you can fit in the basket, you can actually take and get paid for. And then you can upgrade to like a truck and like a van and shit. That's pretty cool.
And
Pretty rad.
From what I've seen from people playing like co-op with each other, it leads to some fucking hilarious so funny, dude. Like the game is just set up to give you just a hilarious time.
Yeah, what's that game called? What's the name of it?
I forget. I'd have to go.
That's fine.
It's in the video I sent you, I think. But we got to get out of here because we've been going for 3.5 hours now.
Nick's got to go to bed.
Yep. And again, Nick, thank you.
Fucking Mondays.
Yeah, dude, I know. I don't have to
I wanted to stay home and play all the games in my Steam library.
I know. I don't have to work till 3 p.m. tomorrow.
I wonder how long
I'm out of sick time, so I have to work tomorrow.
I wonder how long it would take you just to play like the first like couple missions in all of those games. Like that would be that'd be wild.
That seems like an absurd thing, and I'm not going to do it.
Nope, don't even think about that. Pretend he never said anything.
Yeah,
I might try squeezing a dive on Dave the Diver before.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it. I like it.
Because that game is an absolute gem.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I saw it. Where did I see it? Is it on Game Pass or just Steam?
It's just on Steam.
Okay, so I gotta buy it.
And if you happen to like sushi, man, you can't go wrong.
Sushi, dude.
It's it makes me so
today,
hungry.
bro. I went and got sushi today.
Oh,
I'm so jealous.
It's amazing. They called it a Louisiana roll, and it had barbecued crawfish on top. It was so freaking good, dude.
That sounds rad.
It was wonderful.
I'm in like a landlocked state, and so we have no sushi. Like there's
I'm in Texas. You think like all the freshest sushi is coming from the Gulf Coast?
Just import
I don't
that
think
shit.
so.
It'll happen, dude. It'll happen.
Well, regardless, we have no like literally none, no sushi.
Bro, go to
restaurants
fucking QFC. Get some sushi at
Fuck
QFC.
no. Fuck no.
I'm telling you, if you don't have sushi anywhere else, like I got that sushi
I am not
at QFC
that
today,
desperate
and it
for
was
sushi
fucking
to get
awesome.
it from QFC.
It was
bro.
awesome, dude.
You should get sushi from Dave the motherfucking Diver. That's
right.
what you should do. I mean, you can't obviously eat it, but that game,
dude, it fixes
gets
all
all
your
the-
mental wants. You know, it's there. It's there.
man, you get to watch them like cook the sushi, and like all the sushis have little like pictures and like, oh man, it's
so cool. That's awesome.
Like I'm down there, I'm like swimming in the ocean. I'm like, oh, what's that fish? That looks delicious. And then you get it, and you can make
bring
it
up,
into
and you're
sushi.
like, oh, that's a blah blah blah. We can make this roll with it.
It's freaking rad.
That's cool.
What a fantastic note to end on. Nick, thank you so much for hanging out with us for so long.
You're very welcome.
Awesome, dude. And please come back anytime. I would love to come onto your guys' podcast for like Starfield or Alan Wake or something if you guys ever
We'll see what we can do. It's funny, in the history of our entire podcast, we've never
You never had a guest?
Never had a guest. It's always been, I mean, there's been a few, because it's always just been, you know, we've for the most part we've all lived in the same town, and
so you guys
like I said, some of us are a little antisocial, so like it took like everybody got comfortable with each other
for sure, and then everything's fine. I'm the same way. I get it.
But we do try to do like specials and stuff, and I end up hosting a lot of those. And I do take that back. We do like when we do like the revival club and stuff, I try to bring community members on to talk about stuff.
Nice.
So there's definitely opportunities to do stuff like that. Like the main show though, it's pretty much just pretty much just been us doing the same shit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I feel so old. Oh my god.
Hey,
yeah, I would love to talk about Starfield and Alan Wake 2 when that shit comes out, because
definitely.
Very excited.
Cool.
We'll figure something out.
Gabe will play 5 minutes of them and then never pick them up again. All right, everyone, we're gonna wrap it up there. Be sure to check out the 4Player.
Don't worry, he's
podcast.
the asshole.
I know he's the asshole. That's what I'm saying in my head. That's all. It fixes everything. He's the asshole.
Oh, be sure to check out the 4Player podcast. We'll have the links for that down in the description. Highly recommend checking them out if you're into video games, which, I mean, hopefully you are, since you sat through this whole episode.
I hate them.
I hate them. They're terrible.
But As always, you can reach out to us on Twitter and Discord and even Patreon if you want to throw a few bucks our way. The next Creators Corner episode will be with the Friends Talking Fantasy podcast, which is actually, they're actually the guys that inspired us to create the Fantasy Files podcast. So that will be a really great time. I can't wait to tell them how much they inspired us. But thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Yep.
And until next time, I will, of course, be waiting for Gabe to play Dishonored 2 and for Nintendo to want to make some easy money. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Woo!
Oh,
What
man.
an episode.
And a big shout out to our first Night Angel tier patron, Shad Zaman. Thank you so much, man.